Oh yes, we're in the Daverhood. Dave Lefkowitz here with a brand spanking new edition of the Dave's Gone By Facebook program of the stream. We're going to start our intro music in just a sec. I'm just getting a nice little angle so that you can see potato there, which is very important, and more potatoes, and me, and Joyce is coming with some water, and we can get started. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is, of course, our theme. And let's begin the program.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
There goes the Daverhood.
And there was much rejoicing.
Didn't your meds kick in yet?
We got David Lefkowitz here. He's a Long Island arts guy. He's got his own radio show.
I want you all to really enjoy a wonderful program done by a fine artist.
A glorious thing of unparalleled beauty.
Dave's Gone By. Dave is one of my very favorite broadcasters, so keep on listening to Mr. Dave.
Tropical hot dog night. Like two flamingos in a fruit fight.
There goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody. And welcome. There's my darling here. I think you can move a little up without getting on camera. That'd be cool. That's my darling and adorable wife, Joyce's hand. Mwah. Is it on there? Mwah. Mwah,
I like that you're looking at yourself.
Well, I'll make sure it's on the camera there. Plus, I'm doing the Pepe Le Pew thing. It's like,
Can I have my noisemakers here, Bubba?
Oh, yeah, of course. Here's this. Okay. Thank you ever so much. So far we have one listener. Welcome to Laura. Welcome, Laura, to the Daverhood.
They've seen this song. Think of Laura, laugh, don't cry.
Who's that?
I don't know, it's a song. Laura, do you know the Think of Laura song? Ask her if she knows the Think of Laura song.
Laura, can you think of the Think of Laura song?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She must know because it's her name.
Could be. Well, there's a really good Billy Joel song called Laura.
Sing it.
Laura, it's got a dirty word in it, but it's really good. It's on the Nylon Curtain album.
Ooh,
I'm not going to sing it because I don't really remember the lyrics, but it's very good.
Remember the lyrics, don't sing
And
it.
then the most famous Laura song was from the Otto Preminger movie. Laura, da 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 da. Hey, welcome to Fred. Welcome to Fred.
And he likes to be called Mr. Aquafunk.
Of our friendy Aquafunk he is. And the beautiful part is Fred was kind enough to forward to us some information earlier in the week that will go into potato news. Because we are doing the potato news.
Fred, does it have to do with chickens? Last time he sent some wayward chicken story.
Well, this is potato-oriented news. So we are going to have potato news today.
I got here my eyes.
So we need your help with some garb. With costuming,
changes,
absolutely, for that.
Okay.
We will also, what else we're going to do in the Daverhood today? We'll go inside Broadway for news of the theater and the Rialto. We will have a new Colorado Limerick of the Damned.
What town? Which town?
Oh, it's going to be an absolute...
Are we in the B's still?
Yeah. It's going to be an absolute...
My eyes are so itchy, David, I can't take it.
Oh, boy. You got some kind of allergy or some sort of, I don't know.
It's my lower
but
eyelashes.
They don't look...
It's my lower eyelashes. Don't look.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying her eyes look a little bit red, but not too bad.
Ask them, how do my eyes look?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, that's a chicken there, so you're probably cockeyed. Get on those noises, baby.
I can't. I'm slow.
So our Colorado Limerick is going to be a whole bonanza of things.
It's about Bonanza?
Bonanza, Colorado. Yeah. Thank you so much. So Bonanza is the town.
And I heard you finished Make Room for Hansel, or A Cow for Hansel.
We are not, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to be reading from A Cow for Hansel. Unless we do like the Torah.
And you start again.
Rabbi Saul would be like, and we start again from the beginning.
What's the new book?
Well, we have to decide that.
Where's your coffee, Bubba?
My coffee's right here.
Okay.
But we have a new book, or potential. I want to get your thoughts on this, folks, because we have some options when we do story time again.
Yeah.
Not this week, but in a week or two. Because I want to give people a break. We've been doing a Cow for Hansel.
We have to lead up to it a little bit. Give it a little bit of, momentum.
So we have some options. We've got, this one is dedicated to our friend Fred. Interrupting Chicken.
Whoa.
Which we can probably do in a day. I mean, we can probably do this in one day. We'll probably do Interrupting Chicken very soon.
Maybe do when you have like a chicken marathon or something.
Oh, look, this is...
Wait, somebody's voting for it.
You know, I start teaching again.
You just spit on me, honey. Give me your hand.
Okay.
Somebody's voting for that one.
So we might do this book.
What's the...
Or you know, I start teaching again on Tuesday.
Really?
So yeah, so this is going to be my students' reaction.
Oh, let me give you... Maybe this one here. This one, she wants to vote for that one.
Oh,
the next book.
Oh, now the next book. This is Rabbi Saul really wants to read this book. This is going to be the book.
There's going to be more. Hold on.
There's more.
There's Rabbi Saul's getting on there.
So we need the Rabbi. So wait, what does octopus have to do with anything?
That's the girl.
Oh, okay. So both octopus. Well, that's octopus and Rabbi Saul Solomon are wanting me to read this book. It's Dreams in the Golden Country, the story of Zipporah Feldman, a Jewish immigrant girl. Doesn't that sound like fun?
That's good with, what is that thing, Chautauqua? That would be good for
It would Chautauqua. I will Chautauqua all over it. Yes, indeed. So that's another option for an upcoming story time that we'll do. And we also have the Chocolate Touch.
Wait, hold on. That one we can do here. He wants this one.
Might be reading the Chocolate Touch one. Why would a sheep be interested in this?
Because he likes chocolate.
So this is a story of a boy who touches things.
Oh,
and
God.
Everything he touches ends up turning into chocolate.
I would marry him.
Yeah. And for some reason, the front of his pants gets really dirty every morning. I don't know. Anyway, so those are some options.
Well, those are very different books, David. Those are very different.
So I know we'll be reading the chicken one.
Why don't you ever read a book about potatoes? Like, get a potato harvest book.
Oh, I didn't think
like, there must be a book about... You could go to the library and get a book about, like, harvesting potato, or... I think especially since September is the potato,
September... We'll have Potato Day in Greeley, Colorado.
Janine.
Good morning, Janine. Yes. She always she reminds us that she's not Garofalo. She is the other Janine. Well,
if you were Garofalo, you would be on A Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, and you would be making a lot of money in Vegas. You would have hit the slots.
Actually, she was only on a couple of those episodes.
Yeah, but I'm sure she made money.
Yeah, and she was going to be appearing on Long Island, and we asked for an interview, and she turned us down. So this is for you, Janine.
No, there's something going on. I think you don't turn off money.
Well, no, she turned me down.
No, but she turned off the series. Like, you don't turn off good money.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they fired her. Who knows?
Whoa.
Hope they did, Janine. Hope they did.
Not this Janine.
No, not you, Janine.
She's nice,
Janine. Because I remember also Janine Garofalo, she was appearing. This was back when she was on Air America.
Air America.
And it was, I think it was she. I'm not Rachel Maddow. It might have been Rachel Maddow. I might be telling the wrong story. So I'm not going to tell you anymore. But anywho. Welcome to Michael and Janine and Fred and
Where's
Laura.
our Chauncey and our Nancy?
Right,
and
where are all these people? Come on,
I think it's the week before school. They're all out partying. Woo,
that could be.
Party!
So we will have the potato news as well. So that will return.
I think you should read a book about potato farming as you gear toward Potato Day, because it's a nice momentum. You build momentum and you crescendo it like Potato Day. Yeah. You know, you could read a short book about potatoes. There must be...
Look, I'm getting hearts when you're talking about potatoes.
I think what you need to do is you need to go to the library and get a children's book about potatoes.
I think
or
you're right.
Farming. And then you can finish it by Potato Day.
That would be brilliant. Because Potato Day is coming. It's going to be September 8th here in Greeley, Colorado. Oh, thank you, Janine. Janine says, I can try to put in a good word for you. Oh,
that's nice.
Thank you. What's a good word? Marshmallow. Put in that word for me.
Mephistopheles.
That's not a good word. That's a mean word.
Devil.
Yeah.
Spite and devil is 2 words. I love that.
Spite the devil. That's 2 words, and it's not even English. Put in a good English word for us.
Underpants.
Underpants. Janine, could you put in the word underpants for us? Stan says...
wait.
Now, Stan, I want you to look at this face.
Wait.
Look in this face and tell me about French fries. How could you? How could you possibly? I mean, really.
Do you know my name? Are there French fries in heaven?
Oh, God.
No, we need to put on that sappy music like they do on the pet rescues, where it's like put a little tear from Potato and sad music, you know.
Actually, maybe like in a Rick and Morty alternate universe, if there's a Potato Eric Clapton, maybe his Spud baby fell out the window and fell onto these things that turned it into scallops.
But who have I? Who is the person who did not eat a French fry or mashed potato or baked potato? Let him go first, right? We're all guilty.
Oh, yes.
We don't live in glass potatoes.
People who live in glass intestines. So nice crinkle cut would look good on him. Oh, Stan! This used to be a fairly normal radio program. A tray of fries and you, Potato, crying over it. Well, yes. Well, wouldn't you? If you were forced to, you're on a desert island and forced to eat your family, Stan.
Well, let's tell them who's on the show. You need to move past the potato eating.
Moving past potatoes, we do have a really cool show for you because Rabbi Saul Solomon will be here, the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul, who will be talking to another Jew.
Who?
He always loves to talk to another Jew. He's an actor. His name is Sandy Helberg.
Helberg?
Yes.
Spite and Dival!
Talk about a Jewish name. Sandy Helberg, let me tell you a little bit about him, because you probably don't know the name. You might recognize the face, but he was in not one, not two, but 3 Mel Brooks movies, including Spaceballs, History of the World Part 2. I think he was in High Anxiety.
I think won an Oscar.
No, but it was one of his last really pretty good ones before. What?
They went through the space in a flying Winnebago.
Something like that, yeah.
I mean, for reals, like, really?
I should see that one again. It was probably funnier than I remember. I mean, we think of Mel Brooks like the great ones were Producers, Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein, and everything started
and all the Broadway.
Be attrition by. Well, Producers was a real comeback for him at that point. He wasn't really even doing movies then. But Spaceballs was very popular. It's one of his most popular comedies. I think it did very well at the box office. So, but anyway, Sandy Helberg.
There was the Joan Rivers automaton in there, like an R2-D2.
Yes, you remember it better than I do.
I have a good memory.
May the Schwartz be with you. This is what I remember when Mel Brooks would do that. Oh, and Kathleen is here. Welcome to Kathleen. And Brian, Mazel, Brian is embarking on a new career trajectory.
Can we call him Mr. T?
Mr. Why would we call Brian?
Look at his last name.
Oh, I can't. T. Mr. Yes. Brian. Well, I'm sorry, Brian, but I'm drinking this stuff, which is not... Oh, maybe it is Lipton. Who makes this stuff? I can't. Without my glasses, I
can't see it. It's Pure Leaf.
Pure Leaf, which I don't know if it's Lipton. Maybe.
Yeah, it is Lipton.
Oh, it is Lipton? So Brian, yes.
Lipton,
now we've told everybody his last name.
Lipton's it's on there. Lipton is a division of Unilever.
Oh.
Conglomeration.
Yeah, right. Do they make soap?
Unilever, I think they make like mouthwash and stuff. Maybe you can drink your tea and clean your teeth at the same time. That'd be yum. Drinking remember we learned that Listerine was really a chemical cleaner, and then they developed. Yes, I know the dark side of the world. Yeah.
But the positive side of this show is that
Helberg,
Sandy Helberg.
Can we call him Helly?
Helly. Well, we're calling this episode HELRIDE.
HELRIDE.
Because we're taking a HELRIDE with Sandy Helberg, who, by the way, he was one of the founding members of the Groundlings, the improv comedy and sketch troupe. What else? He
did a lot.
He was also in Hollywood Nights with Michelle Pfeiffer and Tony Danza.
Oh, there's
a combo for you. And he's appeared on episodes of MASH and Night Court. And his parents, guess where his parents met?
In shul?
No.
In the camps?
Yes, they met.
God.
Sandy Helberg's mom and dad met when they were both prisoners in Auschwitz.
David.
I'm not kidding. So I think there's some story to tell about that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah, so he'll be talking about that, about his parents, and maybe a little bit also about his son. Now, if you don't know Sandy Helberg, you do know his son for sure. Simon Helberg. Ring a bell?
Tell me, because...
Simon, he's on a show that we watch all the time. Rather Jewish-looking.
Tell me.
Well, I'll try and do a voice related to him. Simon! Ma!
Simon, tell me.
Well, his real name is Simon That's not the character he plays.
Tell me.
Sandy Helberg is the guy who plays Howard Wolowitz
Oh my God!
The Big Bang Theory.
I saw him in the woman. Remember the woman who couldn't sing?
The Florence Foster Jenkins movie. Yeah.
Yes, I hope his dad is heavier. That guy is so skinny.
Well,
is the whole family like that? They were
no,
anorexic
he's
but the son is like whoop, maybe like 90 pounds.
Lucky. I wish I were that weight again.
You're perfect.
I was that weight until I was 30. Thank you,
You're
sweet.
very handsome.
Tell what you said about me earlier this week.
So I was using David's laptop when I was at a conference in Philly, and I saw an old reel he did when he was in college.
Yeah.
And he was this very sexy pants.
Thank you. I had hair.
Yes, you had hair.
I mean,
you
my
were so
pubes too. I have
cute. You
everywhere.
were so cute.
Oh, thank you.
You were very cute.
You said cute. You said I was handsome.
Oh, I thought
or sexy.
You were very sexy. You had a lot of raw animal attraction and animalism. You
Yeah.
had animalisticism.
So how come no women that I wanted back then saw it? You
I
see it
saw
now,
it.
25 years
Yeah,
later.
I
30.
I still see it, baby.
Oh.
You still got it. You're my Janine Garofalo.
Oh, good Lord. Oh, she's not bad looking, but really is.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyway. Oh, welcome to Gina. A lot of the people who tune in all
And
the time.
David.
Brian and Kathleen and David and Gina and all the fine folks. And Stan. Thank you so much. So, yeah, it's going to be quite a show. We got a Limerick. We got a Saturday segue of songs in the news.
Stan keeps emailing you the word oi.
We'll go inside Broadway because I mentioned the Rabbi.
Oh.
Yes, we're making this interactive today. So before we get to this, what shall... Oh, John! Welcome to John.
Hola!
And John reminds me, we'll have an Inside Broadway segment where we'll talk about two Broadway shows that opened this past weekend. We'll tell you what the critics thought of.
Isn't this a late opening or an early opening for September?
Well,
Aren't they September?
You know, the season started back in late May.
Yeah, but they usually... This is like tourist time. Don't they open in September?
Yeah, weird that so many things are opening in August. Maybe they want to get the jump.
Yeah, you said something closed early, too. And so another place could have the theater last time.
Oh, well, it's not closing. Well, we know SpongeBob is not going to run much longer. Oh, Carousel.
Yes.
Carousel's going to close in September.
How could Carousel close? It's so good.
What can I tell you? It just didn't get the momentum that... well, first of all, My Fair Lady this past season got. And then there was a Carousel that you saw about 25 years ago.
It. That was awesome.
That really made the music. It was huge back then.
It was beautiful.
And so people comparing this Carousel to that and going, this one's all right compared.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful story for people to
It's a beautiful musical.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? People are not going.
You should have been the girl. You would have been a beautiful dancer.
Oh, well, I am a queer one, Julie Jordan. No, I'm not queer. What am I saying? It's a lyric, but I'm going to...
You should dance. You should dance one time. One time come in your little tutu and do some dancing here.
Then, that would be queer in all senses of the word.
That will increase the ratings tremendously.
Yeah. Funny, even though I'm sexy and handsome, you would never think of me as Billy Bigelow.
I would.
Yeah, this would be me as Billy Bigelow. I'll go out, I'll make it, I'll steal it, I'll take it, or possibly die.
No.
That would be me at the soliloquy.
To be Billy Bigelow, you have to shave your hair and put on an Elvis bouffant.
Wow.
Yeah. That'd be hot.
Wow. I wouldn't smack the kid. I'd just be like, just...
No, you're not like Howie Mandel. You don't have like OCD. You could touch people. You don't have like Monk where you'd be like...
No, but he holds off and smacks his own kid. That's the point of the... What happens in the second...
Everybody does.
She deserved it too.
Sure.
Think about it. Anyway, in Warhol, all the old... Our folks are Warhols here, Robert
You
from my
guys
high
are
school.
the OGs.
That's
OGs.
right. The ODs, the original Davesters.
Yes, there you go.
Well, I'm still trying to think. Help me out. Everybody help me out here. We're trying to think of what to call people who tune into this show.
I got it.
What?
The hoodies.
Right? Daverhoodies or just hoodies?
Hoodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hoodies.
I was thinking Daverhoodlums, but I don't like hoodlum.
Hoodies I like.
Hoodies. Welcome, my hoodies. But that's so urban black.
Not necessarily. What about...
Yeah, Lawrence and Eileen, excuse me, yeah.
What about...
It's not that easy.
What about the gone byers? Are you getting thumbs up?
I was thinking the bygones. Like for gone by, Dave's gone by bygones.
Like the Goonies, the
Ganies. The Ganies. How about the Ganifs?
The Ganish, yeah.
Or because that means thieves in Hebrew. It's like the Gan or Yiddish. The Ganifs. Maybe. So
why don't you just call them the tribe?
Well, that'd be for Rabbi Saul more
but it's
than for me. Yeah. But think about it, folks. If you like hoodies, which is not bad.
How about Wu-Tang Clan? How about Wu-Tang Clan?
Why not? Just call
Or
them.
what do they call it? The juggalos, the ones who paint their face and stuff.
Yeah, oh God.
Yeah, how about the Davelos? Yeah.
The Davelos. If you want to chime in, if you want to email me, or you want to message me with ideas for what to call yourselves, because we call the people who appear on the show friends of the Daverhood.
Yeah.
So I can't call you also friends of the Daverhood. So you might be hoodies.
How about you call them Amigos de la Davitude?
Why not just call them ex-members of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir while
That's
we're
too
at it?
long. That's too long.
But you know what I'm saying, Dave?
How about you call them a tribe called Quest?
Wait a minute.
What?
The Branch Davidians.
No, because then you get a whole other group of people.
Yeah, I like that though. The branch.
Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
No. How about the Gilgamesh repairs? Like I had on my hernia.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Well, anyway, welcome to Lawrence and Eileen and
What do you call a
Gilles.
group of potatoes? Like the Spudge, you could call them the...
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Like
A crop.
Spuds.
My crop.
Yes! Just make sure it's O, not A.
Oh, yeah. I may go with that. If you guys don't mind, I may start calling you, the crop is here. The crop, which includes John and Stan and Warhol and Robert and Lawrence and Eileen and Gilles. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. And Melissa, hello. And Jody. Oh my gosh, so many people tuning in to this episode live here on Saturday, August 18th, 2018, the 663rd.
Call them family like Manson.
Oh God, the Davely. Ooh, no, I don't know about that.
You know, they used to call, there was Davida it was like a cult.
Yeah.
And they had they believed the prophet was a guy called a young boy, and they called him Davida. And they wrote books about him like as a prophet.
Really?
You could be the Davidas.
Well, I can say, I can be Davida, Davida, don't cry for me, oh my croppies. The truth is, I haven't left you. I'm right here. Since October of 2002, I've been doing this show. I have
Not
never
in
left
this chair. You'd have to have a diaper.
I do probably, no. Anyway, what happened this week? What the hell can we talk about that isn't just bashing this university? What can we talk about that's...
My trip was awesome. I went to Philly.
Please, yeah.
So I went to Philly for the American Sociological Association's trip, and it's always awesome. I really, really liked it. I love Philly so much.
Philadelphia, of course.
Yeah, Philadelphia.
Oh, people are giving big thumbs up for loving Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philly, baby.
So you ate in really cool places.
I ate in cool places, like on 13th Street. It's like a restaurant row in New York, and they have all these cute restaurants. It was really good because I taught in Center City. I taught at Temple University. Mm-hmm. So on the Center City and the Cecil B. Moore campus. So it was really nice to kind of see.
I've heard about the Cecil. It was kind of the mill there, but
no, it's different Cecil. It was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The sociologists are just really good. It was about racialized emotions and looking at race.
What are racialized emotions?
Well, looking about the experience of being.
I know fear is Jewish.
No, but being a racial group in a country, and what is it like to be racial or ethnic group? It was great.
Yeah, but where do the emotions come in?
How you feel being a non-hegemonic or non-dominant or dominant. So really good. Okay. And next year the conference is in New York.
Oh.
Yeah, well, we'll be there, maybe.
Probably, yeah. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So listen, you ran into some Marxists, which was kind of interesting.
So there's, if you know, there's one, there's a community college in New York that is adjacent to beautiful bodies of water. Ooh. And right now it's city housing, so it's low-income housing. So guess what everybody wants to do? Every mayor corrupts unto himself. So Bloomberg destroyed the social services for older adults with a bunch of help from some cronies.
What's de Blasio doing?
He wants to build up and take that and make it private housing because it's waterfront housing right near the city. So it's always,
do they know whether they want to displace the people who are living?
Okay, they don't care. Goodbye.
Right.
Here, don't let the door hit you in the tushy as I'm evicting you.
Well, I never understood that. They're like with Atlantic City and places like Sheepshead Bay, where it's waterfront and people have been. Red Hook.
Red Hook now has food trucks. It's very gentrified. So
I understand.
When somebody sees the water and you get someone with money to invest, they throw out the people who can't pay, and they don't care about them, and then they put in people who can. So because I study aging, there's one senior center there. I think it's Jacob Reese, right? Yeah. Which was a city planner. I believe he was a city planner, and they want to, so it'll be interesting to see.
This idea of water, I now charge people $1 to use our bathroom. because they get near the toilet. I'm like, this is waterfront.
Do you flush it and make it like a jacuzzi?
That's $2 because it's waterfall. It's true.
Oh, wow, David.
Yeah.
You're getting very, very...
I gotta make some money in this life.
I know.
I'm teaching one less course this semester at this damn place. So, you know. Oh, I can say what I please.
I can't, though.
Well, yeah, at this point you can.
I don't want to give to Caesar what is Caesar's because Caesar has not been good to me.
Well, give him a salad.
No, I don't want to give them
Get
anything.
Caesar
Not even
salad
an anchovy.
Oh, wow.
No.
Anyway, what else happened? So you went to Philadelphia, had a fine time except for all the traveling.
Yeah, no, I got a little motion sick. We were on the plane. We actually went into Canada at one point, went over Canada, and then coming back, we did the same, so...
Now, wait a minute, if you had... Would that have been a thing? Like, if you had to land in Canada, you could have had to stay on the plane because you had passports.
We don't have... We would have been like that Tom Hanks movie where he lives in the airport.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I mean, we didn't have passport,
Or even like when they had the 9/11, the Come From Away, the musical.
You can't live. You can't... And none of us really had it because we bordered it, but the girl next to me was very sick. She was a volleyball player from a Massachusetts school, but she was going back to New York.
No, hold on, I'm sorry. I will let you continue the story. But, you know, when I get on planes, I end up sitting near, like, the mom with a screaming child, fat guys who smell bad. Yeah. She gets to sit, like, near female volleyball players.
She was very nauseous.
Yeah.
And so she was playing with her phone, but she didn't turn it on airplane mode, so that's why she knew we got into Canada, because it changed time.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was scary.
And donuts fell from the ceiling of the plane. It was really cool.
No, it was scary. I mean, even coming back, there was a man who was distraught. There was something wrong with him, with like... And the police came, and they had to get him off. Like, he couldn't board the plane, and then the sad part was...
Yeah.
He was with 2 other people. As the police took him off, they got on the plane. I was like, that's cold. Like, you're with 3 people, one person you call is getting taken by the police, and you just leave them. I mean, that's, like, badass. It's like, see ya!
Yeah, they probably had a conference, too.
But it was bad. Yeah, that was pretty scary. And I met a really nice guy who did, it's like Krav Maga, but it's the Brazilian version. It was great.
Oh, cool.
You go talk, David. I got to run out.
Well, anyway, so that's she had a fine week. She got to go away. I sat there and worked all week. I got to get my syllabi together and do some other stuff before school. School starts for me on Tuesday, for everybody else on Monday, because I have a Tuesday-Thursday schedule. But let's see. Oh, I didn't say hi to Reggie and Steve. Thank you so much, Steve. Steve is the guy who helped us get Sandy Helberg on this episode of the show. And Terry, let's see. Stan is mentioning that we're talking about gentrification and lower income folks being pushed out of waterfront property. Stan is saying they're doing the same thing in Coney Island. Not Jacob Reese, Robert Moses. Thank you, Stan. And Bert from the Rogers and Hammerstein organization. Welcome to you, Bert. You missed my performance in Carousel. I can't believe you just missed that. Anyway, and Steve and Bruce, and welcome to so many folks. And I got to thank also all of you, because sometimes, I'll do this program, this Facebook program now, live, and it's really exciting, and I see all these people logging in and leaving me messages, and sometimes I can see the messages, sometimes I can't, sometimes I have time to respond, sometimes I can't, but it's great. And then, like last week, I was doing it and really excited about it, and then when I finished it up and I saved the video, I saw that were about 70-something people listening. And I felt a little come down because it felt like so many more while I was doing it. And it's still great. I mean, it's still probably more than I ever had when I was doing the show on the university station here, and even back in New York on Long Island Radio. But, I looked and I said, I thought there was like 100-something people watching, and there was 7. And then a couple days go by, and I saved the video on Facebook so people can watch whenever. And now I'm turning, it's like 200-something people have watched at least part of last week's video. And it makes me feel so much better. It's like I think of it now as such a live show, almost forgetting about that it has this afterlife, not only as audio at davesgoneby.com, but the video too right here on Facebook. So, yeah, if you scroll back last couple of months, you can see pretty much every episode video that we've done. The audio quality is not as good as it is when we just do audio on our website, but it is so great that you're all tuning in either live or later on. Always great to hear your requests and your messages. Always great when you email me at davesgoneby@aol.com. Daves, like my name, davesgoneby@aol.com. You can also, I have a Twitter feed. I don't use it much. I should. But it's Radio Dave 2. The @ thing, Radio Dave 2 is my Twitter feed. What else?
Why are you tweeting?
Oh, no, I'm giving people the usual lowdown. And, of course, all the archives, audio and otherwise, video too, are at davesgoneby.com, our main website. So one of the things that we love to do every week, we didn't do it last week, so now we're backed up. We're constipated with news items from the Greeley area.
Painful.
So are you ready, my darling, for a bit of Greeley crimes and old times?
Sure.
Oh, boy, because we have it for you. La da da da, la da da da. Little Tom Waits intro music there for Greeley Crimes and Old Times, and this is something that we get from.
What?
I can even.
What? We got?
I always forget to bring my visual
You
from
gotta
our
get
local
a new
newspaper.
one, honey. Updater.
Yeah, well, yeah, but this is such a great cover here, so it's like, and we're sublime, you see. But the Greeley Tribune is our local newspaper here.
I think it's Sub-Imi.
What? Oh,
Sub-Imi.
Sublimi.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a group
Group.
that is performing at the Stampede.
Stampoodoo.
I hope they get a payday from the Stampede. There you go. But anyway,
They will because they illegally serve alcohol.
wow. Oh yes, please. So Steve, thank you, Steve. Oh, Steve. Steve's little head is popping up with thumbs up. Thank you, Steve. And Steve says he's going to be talking to Sandy Helberg later, as
Now, who's
are
the
we.
son or the? Oh, that's the father. I'm getting mixed up. Yeah.
Well, Simon is the son.
And Sandy
He's the
is
guy
the
on Big
father.
Bang.
Yeah,
Sandy is the dad.
Nice.
Nice.
So,
So it's Simon's grandparents who met in Auschwitz.
oh my God.
And they fell in love and they sipped sodas together.
I don't think they sipped anything. They probably walked over dead carcasses. That's probably there.
They probably did.
Yeah.
Well, don't we every day here at UNC?
Yes.
Anyway, welcome to
brother.
Lorraine. What a name that is.
Lorraine, ay, que Dios mío, chica. How many? Uno, dos, tres. How many? You got a lot of names.
Yeah, but welcome, and welcome to Tammy Faye. So, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. This
What's
is
in a quiche, Lorraine?
egg.
Is it spinach?
It's a quiche, you know.
Yeah,
We got eggs, probably spinach and...
Ham?
Isn't that a different quiche?
Bacon? I don't know. The Florentine is spinach and cheese. I know that.
And they take a little girl named Lorraine.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Go. Go for it.
And just shave off her skin. They leave
Go
the
ahead,
blood.
go ahead.
Anyway, in the Greeley Tribune newspaper, every week, there are two different columns. One that
Wow,
compiles...
they're expanding their repertoire now.
That's right. Well, considering how thin most of the issues are, and they're lucky to have these columns.
Writing be good. Writing be good.
I met the new editor there. Has he called me? Has he said, Dave, I could use your
People are
input?
intimidated by your genius.
I don't know. I mean, I know the guy who does the theater reviews for them, he did a couple this summer, but not everything at LTR. Did they call me for the overage? No.
Do your Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
I'm just
You know what I
saying.
say? Fight the power.
This is how I
As
fight.
someone from a position of elitist power.
I spent 3 hours on Saturday mornings bitching at the universe. That's me fighting the power. You know? Fight the
Spiting
power,
the-
that's me.
Spiting the devil.
Oh, okay. So, here we go. Greeley Tribune. One of the columns is called Greeley Crimes, is called Cop Log. And these are phone calls that come into... Whoa, that's a bad phone call right there. The local police department in Weld County. People need help. People are calling 911 for various reasons. And some of those reasons are amusing.
He gave us the thing.
I beg your pardon?
He
Oh, thank you, Stan.
Yes.
Stan says a quiche Lorraine is bacon, onion, spinach, Swiss cheese, and custard. That's why it's nice and...
And Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Steve is telling you.
He's offering some other things
Okay, go ahead.
people to talk to later.
So
but thank you, Steve. Thanks
You
so
only
much.
got a half hour, Bubba.
Okay. Well, let's do. So there's Cop Log. His phone call. Oh, wow. Thank you. So all these thumbs up.
They like
They're
it.
scaring me. Yes.
Yeah, people love people love news about police and about Greeley.
Yeah.
Greeley is one of the top-rated, news sites of all
Is it
time.
really?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes,
I
it's
didn't know that.
on everyone's Google feed. It's like Greeley, woo!
Is it not Paris, not New York, not
Well, the
Berlin?
guy I met on the plane, he got his degree in Denver. He spent a semester in Greeley.
No kidding.
Yeah, at UNC. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, he
wow.
was on some kind of athletic
And
scholarship.
he's been trying to forget it ever since.
No, he's on an athletic scholarship.
He still has the smell in his sinuses.
No, he was on athletic scholarship.
Okay, but there we go.
ahead.
All right. And also part of Greeley Crimes and Old Times, we have, 100 years ago, So the guy, Mike Peters, goes through the newspapers in Greeley. It was called the Greeley Tribune Republican back then, and he gets stories that were published 100 years ago, back in 1918. And so they put these in these two columns. We mesh them together in Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
She's born ready. Okay.
I was born to put in an incubator.
Oh, this is beautiful. Speaking of Greeley and smells.
Okay.
Following, and this was only about 2 weeks ago, following a problem at 16th Avenue and 9th Street, 27 people were treated at a hospital after being exposed to carbon monoxide.
Where?
16th Avenue and 9th Street.
Ooh,
Not that far
8th
away.
And 8th, getting toward 8th and 8th, yeah.
Said Police Lieutenant Aaron Carmichael, quote, people were losing consciousness, having seizures, and then unable to walk. Watch, they'll all be in my class this semester.
No, that sounds like, a normal day in our lives.
What happened? This is the greatest thing ever. This is genius.
But how do you lose consciousness if it's not a carbon monoxide?
Well, it killed Weird Al Yankovic's parents.
But it must have been carbon monoxide.
It was carbon monoxide.
Oh, no.
How? Where?
Somebody left their car on in the garage.
No.
What?
No.
A cow pooped?
No. Well, wow. That's a hell of a way to die. Nobody died. They just got really sick.
Thank God, yeah.
Police said, true story, a taco stand.
Wait, okay.
Very different kind of gas. And this happened in Greeley. Ladies and gentlemen.
What was it doing?
A taco stand was using a generator.
Yeah.
And exhaust was leaking into the building.
Watch.
So, of course, the Center for Disease Control recommends never using a generator inside a building or closer than 20 feet to ventilation.
Yeah.
I just say noxious fumes coming off Mexican food. How could they tell?
That's horrible, though. You could die.
Of course I could die. And the carbon monoxide is... what I don't understand is why more people don't commit suicide through carbon monoxide poisoning. It sounds like the best way.
It's a slow way to go, and if you don't, you could just have brain damage and be alive. So it's a risky way to go.
Is it risky? Because you figure most people, they lose consciousness, they fall asleep, they don't wake up. What a great way to die.
If you make a mistake, you know. Yeah.
Well, how come the people don't want to, Weird Al's parents were watching TV?
No, but even my parents, so I told you, they had carbon monoxide, and now they have a bunch of detectors all around the house, and you just check it. And Mom was so embarrassed because she had really hunky firemen, and she said she was in a ratty old nightgown. So I was like, leave a good house coat in case that happens.
Yeah, right.
She has a lot of, first alert, the carbon monoxide stuff
Mom's
now.
I just happen to be naked under this robe. I'm feeling faint.
No, Mommy's not, but Mommy needs to breathe, so...
Let's see. An Evans man repeatedly, this just happened also about 2-3 weeks ago, crashed his white Hummer into his own home. Repeatedly.
PTSD.
No. Police said he was apparently trying to run over his wife and 2 children.
Nice.
When he was in a drunken rage.
Nice. Father of the Year award goes to
Zenobio Garcia, age 34. He's charged with 3 counts of menacing, 1 count of criminal mischief, plus a DUI.
Wouldn't it be murder? And
child abuse. Attempted. Well, attempted homicide, isn't it?
Vehicular manslaughter. If you hit someone with your car.
Well, what happened was he kept plowing the car into the front of the house, and they just ran up the stairs. As long as he doesn't hit a beam.
It kind of ruined my afternoon activity, honey, with you and I.
Darn. Well, our Subaru's already got so much damage on it. I don't know how much damage more you could do to it.
Well, my friend's car, she was driving to her reunion, and under the car, it's a fancy car, but under the car they have a mesh girdle that holds in all your inner parts, and it kind of fell off, and yeah.
Was this a rental, or did she have a regular car back?
This was one that had hail damage last year. It was red. She fixed it.
Oh, yeah.
But, when you stop and there's those little, bumpers of cement, she kind of must have run over.
Man.
So, cars are tricky animals.
Speaking of animals, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we have right now? Oh, this is, in fact, I even have musical alert for it. Hold on.
Geez. Oh, no.
This is.
Oh, no.
Oh!
Oh, no.
There ain't nobody here but us chickens. There ain't nobody here at all. So quiet yourself. Stop that fuss.
Oh, wait.
There ain't nobody here but us.
Chicken alert! Chicken alert! We have a chicken alert, ladies and gentlemen. Oh boy, it's our first one in a long time.
Yeah.
On Really Crime
Probably
Show.
because Fred is with us.
Yes, Fred. We dedicate this to Fred. This chicken alert in Greeley Crimes and Old Times. With the shortage of eggs,
Oh no.
the city is encouraging locals to raise chickens in their backyards.
Of course.
However,
Yeah.
the city also warned they could be fined if they don't clean up the large amount of chicken droppings.
Chickens make a lot of doo-doo.
Well, yeah. That's not, that, of course, that story is from 100 years ago. Kind of a chicken shit story, but anyway. Oh, comedy. Steve wrote in to say, talking about...
Oh, Fred enjoyed your chicken story.
Fred is honored. I'm honored to share that with you, Fred. And Steve says, brain dead and still alive sounds like the current situation in the Oval Office. Haha, sorry I had to. Agreed. Okay, here we go. A house on College Hill.
Ooh, wait. Oh. We don't have anyone calling in. Who?
Well, this is the house is calling in.
Where's College Hill?
I guess back when this was the teachers' college or literally, and this
maybe it's College Green.
Maybe.
Now.
Well, yeah, maybe now it's College Green. Back then, this was actually at one point called the Normal School. I think things have changed.
Let me fix it.
Yeah, this is no longer the Colorado Normal School, trust me. But a house on College Hill was found to contain...
Sing it. There
is a house on College Hill. It has 16 small nitroglycerin bottles. And each one is capable of blowing up a large building.
Oh, my God.
And, well, yeah, and this was true. They found nitroglycerin very close to the school. Police investigated and said the house had been abandoned by a strange man several months ago under unusual circumstances. And by the way, remember...
You know what his name was?
What?
Minor Pete.
No, actually, it could have been maybe Saeed Qutb. He was that guy who studied at what was UNC back in the... Well, that was a few years ago.
Yeah, but nitroglycerin is like for bombs. We use it... I told you my nitroglycerin story. So it's for heart, for your heart, some heart disease and heart issues.
Yeah.
Emergent, right? And so when I was working in a Catholic hospital, and I was working as waitress in a cocktail bar, and they wanted me to go get... Because I was in the ER, and they wanted me to get tubing for nitroglycerin, liquid nitroglycerin, because it would eat through the plastic tubes. And then nobody knew where to go because people were new, and it was near the morgue. So they're like, you know where the thing is, the stock room? Go near the morgue. And I ran through the hospital going, I need the nitroglycerin glass tubing.
Wow.
This is how long ago it was. Marcus Welby was the chief. Where it was Og the caveman, yeah.
But I don't think even a man with a pacemaker
No.
plugs is going to need 16...
he's probably the school of mines, he's a miner.
Something like, whoa, that's interesting.
What?
But no, again, also the first terrorist was here.
No.
That guy said you could know. He was...
That's to blow up a mine, like a mine shaft when you're going to do mining.
Yeah. He was obviously not happy with UNC, and, to be honest, the cafeteria wasn't as good back then.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
Read the story, honey. Where are you?
Well, I was finishing that one. It was just that they don't know who it was.
Read a good new one.
All right, okay. Let's see. Police responded to a restaurant on 9th Street.
Wow, buildings are very active in calling.
I know, well, yeah.
I guess they text.
And they also have an Oedipus complex.
You know what we need to do?
What?
I saw some theater person, maybe it was Karen Finley or somebody. They made little, popsicle sticks with little figures. We could do that when you do your stories and stuff.
We could. Well, we can still use more of these. We can use these little puppet things. People giving thumbs up to Joyce's suggestion. Steve is just going, yeah, thank you, Steve.
I like Steve. Steve's got good energy.
Yeah. Tell me about it. All right, we'll have Octopus represent this building.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wow. It must be a big building with a lot of...
Oh, it was a restaurant.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I for the first time I saw this I was at the Safeway.
Your belly button.
Thank you. Doing some navel gazing here, ladies and gentlemen. No, I was at the Safeway, and they had octopus arms
pulpo,
and
yeah.
tentacles, but frozen.
Yeah.
Just so you could cut up and grill. I was thinking about
It's
getting
pulpo.
that.
My mom and dad, because now it's gentrified, so they have a whole
Yeah.
organic section, but they still have things because it's a largely Queens is very diverse racially and ethnically. And I was getting something from Mom, and I almost grabbed it. Was like fresh pulpo. It was like octopus.
Fresh.
I
This was
like,
frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, I love octopus tentacle. I'm a sucker for them.
I don't think he likes that. I mean, that's
Yeah,
his.
he wouldn't like. Well, he's already missing like 2 of his arms.
Yeah, we know
so
what happened.
at some point he's being eaten.
Read your story.
Well, I don't know what kind of restaurant. This is a restaurant
Okay.
on 9th Street where 2 men and a woman, that kind of restaurant, were outside bothering customers by practicing their supposed karate moves.
Wait, where was this?
On 9th Street, outside a restaurant.
9th?
Yeah, 9th Street.
So
it's all the way down.
8th Avenue. I'm confused. 9th.
Yeah.
Maybe downtown stuff?
Well, I guess, yeah.
Karate?
You know where maybe
Oh,
the
I bet you.
crepe place
no,
was?
No. There was an outdoor seating. They're probably in a patio. One restaurant has a patio.
Oh, even Rio is right around
it
down
might
there.
be the patio. Because when we drove, there were a bunch of people playing music loud, so I wonder if they're doing that.
Well, I practiced my judo moves outside the...
nice.
Yeah, isn't it? No, there were complaints about this.
Oh, no.
By the way, what discipline do customers practice outside bagel shops?
Oh, Bagelo?
No, judo. That's what bagels are made out of. I do comedy, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I do here. Every Saturday on Dave's Gone By. We're doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times.
Yay.
Greeley Police.
Yep.
Here they are. They responded to 23rd Street and 59th Avenue.
Whoa, uptown.
Oh my gosh.
Uptown.
This is, wow.
What?
Wow.
What? Scary?
Wow.
Don't be scared.
Police were called for this. I understand why.
Why? Squirrel
For-
attack?
A report of cows mooing excessively.
Oh, Lord. You know...
This is new, by the way. This
How do you-
happened in July.
So, like, okay, how do you prevent cows from mooing?
Why
Well,
are you asking me?
tell them about the pig.
Oh, yes, I knew we wanted to talk about this. No, but I was somebody who really knew about cows and
Yes.
thought that they were probably agitating or something might be wrong with them.
Maybe the cows are like a harbinger of something.
Yeah, maybe fire or something. But there's no
Maybe
further...
maybe the gas attack. They're like, damn, that's worse than our poop methane.
Listen, they smell the taco stand. It's like... It's like staggering, like... But, oh my God.
Cow zombies.
Tell about... You're
You
right.
say it, you say it.
We
There
were-
was a pig in Loveland
Yeah.
who they escaped somewhere.
No,
A male pig.
this happened 2 days, or like last Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We were just looking at this on the interwebs last night. A pig.
I'll bring it up so they can hear the
Yeah.
story.
Oh my God. Who knew? A pig escaped locally in Loveland, which is about,
It was
I
a-
don't
it
know,
was a
10
pig
miles,
pig.
15 miles over from Greeley, Colorado. And so it was wandering around this neighborhood into kind of this back alley. And there's this, pig, fairly large pig. And they're trying to wrestle it. And one cop has a lasso. And then there's another person trying to hurt it with a broom. And, it's kind of cute. And you figure, oh, pig, little piggy, and little pink thing running around. And he's scared, right? So the pig is squealing. Have you ever really, really heard a pig squeal? On Charlotte's Web, it's really cute, right? It's like, quick, 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 quick. I mean, anytime your mom and dad would read no, that's the Three Bears.
No.
The Three Little Piggies, they would make the pig noises like, wee, 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 all the way home, sort of thing. That is not, apparently, what a pig sounds like. If you put him surrounded by houses...
It's loading slow because we ran out of our minutes.
Oh, crap. Maybe I can find it on
No,
here.
it's coming up.
Oh, good, okay. They sort of, your heart goes out to them when they squeal and when they're sad or in trouble. And they do that, wee, 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 I'm scared, I'm scared. However, this pig, when he has the acoustics around him, and Pavarotti should be singing in this alley where this pig was, because you've never heard anything like this. You think it'll come out? Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know if it's gonna...
See if you can play the audio on this news item. International news coming out of Loveland,
I
Colorado.
thought this was the video. Now it won't.
Oh, the video's the second one. Let it load. Go. There, that's it.
Press the button.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if it'll play. Come on, play for me. I don't know, maybe your phone isn't
Give
gonna...
it-
Oh, there it goes.
Okay.
I'm sorry if this is taking a moment, folks, but here we go. You want to hear this. This is what a pig sounds like at some point. This is what's happening on our telephone.
It's because we don't have the...
Oh.
Okay.
Listen to this.
It's buffering. Just listen.
Yeah. That is what a pig really... That's noise that Jews made when they were being tortured in the Inquisition. Steve says they sound like Ned Beatty. Oh. Even Ned Beatty didn't make that noise in Deliverance. I'm telling you. Oh my God.
He's got a band.
Wow.
The poor pig.
Because we watched this other video of a woman who had a pet pig in her house that was sleeping in its own bed.
But tell them what got the pig calm. One of the pet handlers, she had a farm, and the guy began petting the pig, and then she was petting the pig, and he was calm.
I think she was pulling his pork, is what I think she was doing.
But I don't know if anyone adopted him. He was at the rescue.
That's right. When they got him, they did get him, and they herded him into a van.
They never followed up.
The Humane Society in Larimer, he may still be there. So if you're interested in adopting a pig that sounds like that.
Yeah.
So if, let's say you're in an apartment building and your neighbor plays the music too
loud.
How about
like a studio in the 40s in Manhattan? That'll just,
Yeah. And you want to tell your neighbor, I don't like you. Get yourself a big old pig. Oh, man.
And then agitate him. That's what happens.
Yeah, scare your pig. Do it at 2:30 in the morning.
No, I think, that's a good time.
Because, people complain when there's stray cats in the neighborhood and they're yowling all night. Imagine that.
No, we once had a stray cat outside our house when I was a kid, and I thought it was a baby because it's cried so very much like a baby. It was so similar. Yeah. Maybe you need a pig.
I think we do. Then maybe that'll be our next pet. Steve says, not kosher. Not kosher at all.
Maybe that's why he was squealing.
Indeed. Yeah. Police officers on night patrol are warned about crimes in the city by red lights on street corners. Somehow I thought the red light district was something else. Yeah. If a red light flashes, it means the officer must find a telephone and call the dispatch to find out what's going on. This is before, obviously.
If he doesn't know what's going on or she doesn't know what's going on, that's bad.
Well, the problem last night was the storm. Lightning flashed across the city and caused all the red warning lights to flash. So officers started continually calling dispatch. They're like, hello, I got a red... No, hold on, I got a red light right here. No, I got a red light here. Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, Keystone Cops.
And this led to arguments between the officers and the dispatch centers about false alarms. Oh, man.
No kidding.
Yeah.
There ain't nobody here but us chickens.
Ba-doo, ba-doo.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
I can make a pig joke, considering we just do, but I'm not. I'll be good. Anyway, Greeley police responded to the picnic area of Ramsier Farm. Never heard of that one. It's probably somewhere in Weld, northern Weld or something. For a report of a man screaming at passersby. Make him scream. Squeal like a pig. There we go. So the cops come for this man who's screaming at passersby while defecating in the park. Now put that image in your heads, folks.
Oh, I would scream too. Maybe he was constipated.
I'll betcha. He's like, poor fella. Well, perhaps he was screaming, oh my God, I forgot paper. Anybody have Charmin?
Because that's going to attract people.
Oh, I don't want to use my hand. No.
That's not going to attract people.
No, certainly not.
No.
Let's see. Police responded to First Avenue because a man thought his neighbor was harassing him by subscribing to Stroke Smart. It's a magazine called Stroke Smart. Talking about pulling pork there. National Wild Turkey Federation and Adam and Eve magazines.
But he was giving it to the guy or himself?
Apparently, the guy thought, it's the neighbor The guy thought his neighbor was putting him on the subscription list.
Yeah, but I would
for
love
dirty-
it if
I would
somebody
like
brought
Adam
me
and Eve magazine.
magazines.
Yeah.
I would like. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Well, but guess what?
What?
Stroke Smart.
Yeah.
You know, Adam and Eve magazines were kind of it's toys
Is it
for
like
adults.
a gun?
No,
What?
no, this is hilarious. And National Wild Turkey
Oh, it's
Federation.
probably golf.
No, that would
No?
be a great name.
What?
It's Stroke Smart is a magazine about how to avoid or live with a neurological stroke.
Oh my god! What a company! He probably got on one of those like you get points and you buy magazines or something.
Something like that.
Oh my! Didn't we have a woman who a while ago she did something and forgot she did it and then thought somebody was harassing her and it turned out that she had done those things? Yeah. He might be a relative.
I want to get Stroke Smart magazine. I think they have a Sudoku in the back.
That doesn't make sense at all.
I don't know why.
I hope nobody did that for him.
Well, I mean, National Wild Turkey Federation could be about turkeys or about the beverage.
Adam and Eve, I mean, could be about...
He could get some toys. No, I think Adam and Eve...
I don't think it's that. I think it's
not
a biblical magazine.
Oh, maybe. Huh. I'll have to find out for myself. A man! Well, let's see. I've got... Oh, we haven't gone
What?
afield yet. Because every once in a while on Dave's Gone By, when we're doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times, we go a little further out from Greeley or Weld County. Sometimes we'll get a news story from farther away. And we call it Elsewhere. We're going elsewhere for this one. Dateline, Charleston, South Carolina. Now, this story goes back to May, but it's worth returning for.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I don't think... Remind me, I feel like we did this 2 weeks ago, or maybe I just wrote this 2 weeks ago. Did we talk about this one?
Yes.
We did do this one?
Yes,
right.
It was the wrong cake, yeah.
Oh, we did the cake one. So you have to go listen back 2 weeks ago for the cake one. But we have another one.
Here about his chicken.
This is brand new. This happened a day or two ago. And our old stomping ground, Dateline, Greenwich Village, New York City, ladies and gentlemen.
Soho.
This was an exclusive to the New York Post, so you know it's got to be good.
Yeah.
The writer is Ian Moore there. West Village residents are kicking up a stink over a serial farter who is polluting the neighborhood.
I think you read this one, too.
No, I couldn't. I feel like, no.
Go ahead.
No. Earlier this year, a local blog posted, quote, "It's happened thrice, so it can't be a coincidence. There's some guy..."
Oh, it was the pooper. You talked about the girl who ran and pooped.
Yeah,
That
this is
was the
different.
one,
This
yeah.
This is close, but no brown cigar. There's some guy who I believe is playing a fart sound as he passes people as some sort of social experiment.
You do that.
Yeah.
You have the whoopee cushion in the supermarket.
I also do things in the supermarket when I think nobody's
you have
looking.
Real gas,
Yeah. I think it's always the same fart every time. While I was talking to a friend, we get interrupted by this fart that leaves us silent and staring. He plays it as he passes and he never looks back. He acts like nothing happened. Guy is white, college age, and very straight-laced looking. Okay. The not-so-silent but deadly dude went quiet for a while.
Ooh.
But one area insider told the Post, "My wife and I were walking by Washington Square Park the other day, and this guy passed by and just ripped one, and we both started laughing." I'm so glad this is in the newspaper, right? The couple deduced from the blast it could not have been human. The dude had a backpack, said the source, wondering if it housed a flatulent simulating device.
I bet you have the remote one, too. We had that.
I know, that's
Remember, in
beautiful.
our house, used to turn it on by accident. We had a ghost that liked to fart.
Yes. Yeah, it was Asper, the friendly ghost, I guess. The source snapped a picture of the prankster, a hipster in shades, shorts, short-sleeve shirt, gray backpack, and running shoes.
Ooh.
I just wonder if these shoes were bad Air Jordans.
Oh.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, you know what? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. We've been doing Greeley Crimes and Old Times on Dave's Gone By with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and adorable wife, Joyce. Mala. And all of you, my hoodies, or no, my crop. Which do you prefer, hoodies or my crop?
I don't like either one yet.
Oh, okay, we're still working
How
on
about the potatoes?
Well, that would be this.
How about
You cold?
what's in a Daverhood? Like residents who live
Lunatics,
in a neighborhood?
shut-ins, asylum inmates. That's what would be. But, I know you don't want to get on camera, but since we're moving away from Greeley Crimes and Old Times into a different news segment,
Yeah?
I'm wondering if you could just hold Potato up in front of the camera while I go find Spudward Armuro for the Potato News.
up here.
This is going to be very exciting, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe put this up too.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Just hold this for a moment. Joyce is going to help me get into my... Or help Spudward get into his costume. This will only take a moment. Oh, I'm suffocating. Oh,
God.
oh, where are you? Oh, where's my arm? There it is. Hello. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. I used to have pride.
Do you want to hold your baby?
Yes, this yeah. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, yeah, this is a segment that is done every couple of weeks when there is enough Potato News to share Potato News with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have some Potato News for this Saturday, August 18th, 2018, live here.
Super awesome.
Let's go. I could have gotten the music running and then come in. So let's do that. Do I have that? I have the intro for Potato News. You say potato, I say potato. Let's call the whole thing Potato News. Good morning.
You look very cute in that.
Why, thank you. This is Spudward
You
Armuro.
look very starchy.
Aw, you're going to make my tuber grow. This is Spudward Armuro with the Potato News for today, August 18th, 2018. Dateline Belgium. According to the UK Guardian, food vendors in Belgium are praying for rain as hot weather there is threatening the supply of the country's national dish, fries, or as they call them, frites.
Pommes frites, right?
Europe's ongoing heat wave has shrunk Belgium's potato crop by a third. Not only has yield been affected, but the taters are smaller and have a rougher skin, which makes them almost unpeelable by the freight machines. Prices on Belgium's traditional Bintje potatoes have already gone up, and one expert says, freights are essential, vital part of our culture. It's more than a product, it's a symbol of Belgium. Romaine
Whoa, that's really problematic.
Yeah. You figure they could come up with a better symbol.
Than a potato. Well, maybe not.
Than a dead-eaten potato. Bastards. Roman Kool, Secretary General of Belgium's largest potato-growing concern, and he's concerned about the growing of potatoes.
Of course.
Said in 2017, a ton of taters was trading at 25 euros.
That's
now,
cheap.
I know, right? For 25 euros,
it's like $40 bucks, right?
Yeah. Now they are 10 times that.
Good.
Ooh. And I dare say worth every penny. Dateline, Cornwall, England. Why are hundreds of bizarre tennis ball-sized critters washing up on a beach in Cornwall? Turns out these heart-shaped animals are not a mystery to marine biologists,
What?
who colloquially call these creatures heart urchins or sea potatoes because of their distinctive heart-shaped bodies. Sea potatoes are basically sea urchins who live in the mucky sands around Europe and Asia. So it's possible that their being stranded was just a mating event gone wrong. I've been there. When they came together to breed, a storm may have washed them ashore. Oh boy. I think we need some happy potato news, don't you?
I do too.
Dateline,
How come
Colorado.
Your thing went dark. Look.
Oh, it's where I sit with the lighting
Oh,
and
wow.
my growth spurts here.
Yes.
All right. The San Luis Valley Potato Festival
Woohoo! Whoop, 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 whoop.
will be held Saturday, September 8th in Monte Vista near Alamosa, Colorado.
Whoa.
The Potato Festival is held each year to celebrate the potato harvest and the potato industry in the San Luis Valley. According to officials, this year's festival has some big changes and promises to be the biggest ever.
Like what?
Ooh. Let's see. For example, the CPAC, which we all know is the Colorado Potato Administrative Committee.
Aren't you a board member?
Oh, I'm the chairman.
Ah. Cheer, Spud. Spudman.
They are pleased to announce that Octane Addictions will be the headliner.
Whoa.
That's a family-oriented extreme motorsport company. Because you really want a bunch of children going 180 miles an hour in a little buggy. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
The festival itself will kick off at 8 a.m. with the 5K Spud Walk or Spud Run.
We should do a Spud Run here.
We should.
Let's do that.
Yes.
Yeah, we could do it on Potato Day where you do a walk around instead of the parade, you do a walk around Centennial Village.
If we do a Spud Run, though, I'll be going in first, and everybody else will catch up. Okay. By the way, the Spud Walk will benefit the San Luis Valley pediatric diabetes patients,
God.
who, of course, eat potatoes all the time. The rest of the event,
Pan frite.
other events in the Potato Festival on September 8th will include potato-themed obstacles, such as the potato sack hop and the mashed potato crawl.
Ugh.
Worst, yeah.
Ugh.
That's the most disgusting event ever. For the kids, there are bouncy houses, archery instruction, because that's what you want is a bunch of kids
on in a bouncy house with
pointy arrows going in very fast vehicles, and reptiles from the local reptile park.
Oh God, that's like that's a nexus of.
Oh, and
what?
The famous mashed potato dunk tank.
Ew.
Oh, yeah.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry.
And by the way, all of this is free to the public.
I think of the public, they'd have to pay the public sometimes to attend some of it.
For the complete schedule, visit coloradopotato.org. Wow. And by the way, the Greeley Colorado Potato Day happens Saturday, September 8th also.
That's exciting.
It's not free. It's $7. There's some animals. A guy throws a hatchet.
Yeah, but this one at the Greeley one, you get a baked potato.
You do.
You can actually go back for two. Sometimes
if they have extra, they will.
Yeah, sometimes they give popcorn and you can make butter.
And you can churn butter.
Yeah, remember we churned butter. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
And we saw the lady that made needlepoint from human hair. That was disturbing.
And they were pubes, too,
no,
so it was
but the
worse.
thing we like is the book festival.
That's
the book
nice.
sale,
yeah. So anyway, all of this, September 8th, because you know what's happening. This is the time, folks. Tomorrow.
What?
Sunday, August 19th, everywhere is National Potato Day.
Oh.
Yay! Truly is, according to NDTV, whatever that is, National Potato Day celebrates a humble vegetable. Thank you. That not only tastes great, but is incredibly versatile. England celebrates the day on a very large scale.
David, ain't no one as good as me. I'm just so versatile.
So fresh and so clean.
There you go.
And so spuddy.
Spuddy.
While taters remain the most popular vegetables in Ireland. So, looking at the weather map for National Potato Day...
That's what Janine said.
What?
She said you must have a lot of followers in Ireland because of the potato stuff, yeah.
Yes. They're my spuddy buggies, ladies and gentlemen. So, tomorrow...
I don't know why you're dark. Go back.
See, look what happens. See the light? Oh. I go in. Ooh. Notice how it changes? Ooh.
Larry.
Yeah, this is high-quality filmmaking, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Anyway... The weather everywhere tomorrow, Potato Day, just perfect.
Lovely.
This has been Potato News with me, Spudward Armuro. Good night and good growth. What the hell? Why isn't it doing that? There we go.
I don't know. What's that?
Well, thank you so much to Spudward Armuro for joining us here in the Daverhood on this Saturday, August 18th, 2018, for the 663rd episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebook program of The Stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, my darling and wonderful wife, Joyce Moa. So, we have so much more to do. Oh, hello. Yeah. Let's We have Sandy Helberg coming up with Rabbi Solomon. They'll be talking together. We'll also have a Saturday segue of songs in the news. Our Colorado Limerick of the damned for the town of Bonanza, Colorado. What else are we going to have? We're going to have Dave's Big Day. Oh, before you go, last thing before you go, one more item that we do every week here in the Daverhood. Joyce looks in the dictionary.
Oh my God.
The Webster's Dictionary. Hold on, let me set it up.
Okay.
And we do a segment called Dave's Big Dictionary, where she'll pick a word at random, truly at random. She's doing it right now. And then later on in the show, I've got to talk for about 5 or 10 minutes about something to do with that word, some anecdote in my life, some story, some thought in my head, so kind of an instant monologue that doesn't have to be too funny because it's not CBS here. So, Joyce has randomly... Yeah.
This word is in I picked it just by pointing a finger in the dictionary.
Yeah.
It relates to, and then there were none by Agatha Christie, and it relates to the first name of your guest.
Okay, so sand, is that the word?
Shall I read it?
Please do.
It's the third definition of the word. Reef, R-E-E-F, a noun, a ridge of rocks, sand, or coral at or near the surface of the water. Reef.
Oh, wow. Reef.
Reef, not leaf, reef.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you think on that? I'm gonna
have to think of... Yeah, well, I'll do it a bit later in the show. So,
I'm gonna vamusala.
So later in the program, I'll be talking about the word reef. Gewalt. Good. I should say good reef. Thank you very much.
That was cute.
Yeah, well, maybe if I puff on some reefer, I'll go. No.
It is Colorado.
Which I've never tried, by the way, even though it is Colorado. So we have all that coming up, plus Inside Broadway. Let me just say a very fun and loving temporary farewell to my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, and then I'll get right back on camera. Hello, darling, adorable, nice, kissy, kissy, huggy, huggy, lovey, lovey.
I love you.
Love you,
I'll
too.
see you 2:30 in front, right?
Yes. And continue with the rest of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio program of the stream, which, by the way, is brought to you and me and all of us partially by the fine folks at Hewlett Minuteman Press, the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, Long Island. I've been working with them for like 30 years now, long before I had this show. They've signed on as sponsors since the very beginning, and I thank them for that. But you should use Hewlett Minuteman Press, because whether it's a single-sided black and white copy, and by the way, I wrote Reef down just to remind myself, but the rest of this was copied, right? Clipping by Hewlett Minuteman Press. Double-sided, single-sided color, if you need things bound, perfect bound, spiral bound, laminated. If you need or want your company logo on an article of clothing or a pen and pencil set or a... oh my gosh, what do they call those things that you move a mouse pad? Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
If you need any of that kind of stuff, plus they're known for wedding invitations and holiday cards, it's time to start thinking about those Rosh Hashanah cards, folks. All of that, Hewlett Minuteman Press is known for. The Torang family has been doing this since the mid-1970s, and they continue to do it better than anybody else. So they're about 2.5 blocks from the Hewlett train station. They're across the street from that big Petco they just built. Hewlett Minuteman, and if you tell them Dave sent you from Dave's Gone By, you get 10% off, 10% off any job, big or small. So you walk in with 10 cents for one side of a page or something, you pay only 9 cents. But extrapolate from there. If you have a $1,000 order, you get 10% off that. That makes a big difference. So Hewlett Minuteman Press, they are the copy kings. 516-569-5577. Area code 516-569-5577. Minuteman, the copy kings. And I feel like king of the world when I have my crop watching me, Nate and Paul and David from my high school, and Heidi, oh my gosh, Heidi from like a year earlier or 2 years earlier from my high school as well, and Cindy and Melba and Phyllis and so many folks, and I've got like 22 comments up there. I love it. And before I was half complaining and half revising my complaint to say I was disappointed that so few people were watching live, and then suddenly like 3 times the people ended up watching later in the week. It's all great. Do tell your friends, do tell your family, and especially your enemies that Dave's Gone By airs every Saturday from 9 until noonish or thereabouts right here on Facebook, and then the archives are all going to be at davesgoneby.com. davesgoneby@aol.com. We'd love to have you watching either live or later on, emailing us, davesgoneby@aol.com, or just messaging us here, which you can do while the show is happening or even later on. Anyway, it is 10:15 Mountain Time here on this August 18th, 2018 in the HELRIDE edition of Dave's Gone By in honor of our upcoming guest, Sandy Helberg. We're going to be theatrical now because I've been an arts journalist, a theater critic, a playwright, something of an actor and director for many years. And so I love to talk about theater. I love to talk about Broadway. And hey, there were two Broadway shows opening this past week. We're going to tell you what the theater critics thought of them on this segment. It's called Inside Broadway. Inside Broadway, a look at theater on and off Broadway and beyond. Brought to you by Total Theater and Performing Arts Insider. Curtain going up. Yeah, Inside Broadway we go. Just to give you, and I say this all the time, but you know what new movies are opening, right? And you know what's happening in popular music. Everybody tells you that. Every commercial, every late-night talk show has all the guests on. But it's important to know, especially if you're not in New York, what they're doing on Broadway. What's happening in theater. I find it important anyway. So, Pretty Woman, going on the stage, Pretty Woman, is it all the rage? We're going to find out, because Pretty Woman, the Broadway musical, opened just a couple of nights ago at Broadway's Nederlander Theater over on West 41st Street. It's got a score by Bryan Adams, remember the Canadian pop star and composer, and Jim Vallance co-writing that. The book is by Gary Marshall. He was already adapting his screenplay before he died with someone named J.F. Lawton. The movie everybody knows, even people who don't like the movie, and I don't like the movie for various reasons. We know the movie. We love the movie. We're in love with Julia Roberts. We get it. Okay, Pretty Woman. Now they've turned it into a musical directed and choreographed by Jerry Mitchell. It's all about this hooker, right? Beautiful hooker with a heart of gold who meets a very, very rich and bored guy and turns his life around while he turns her life around with money. She gives him heart. He gives her riches. So that's basically the story of Pretty Woman. And, of course, Julia Roberts and her mega smile made it a mega iconic film. So there isn't a film that's being made in Hollywood that isn't being turned into some sort of Broadway musical or Broadway show. Is this one of the better ones? Is this kind of a journeyman thing? How did it do? Well, let's find out. Greg Evans, writing for Deadline.com, said that this is a cloying, regressive Broadway musical with bland, middle-of-the-road songs, costumes mistaking gaudy for glitzy, and a sugary lead performance that adds up to one very smudged, very ill-fitting glass slipper. I guess he didn't like it. He did say, and nearly all the critics said just about, that the lead actress, Samantha Barks, he says she's a powerhouse singer, but he said that she takes the same over-the-top approach to her acting. A lot of critics liked her a lot more than Greg Evans did. So Samantha Barks is obviously playing the hooker with a heart of gold role, who's lively and beautiful and captivating, and apparently can sing really, really well. But a big thumbs down from Deadline.com for Pretty Woman. How did the Chicago Tribune react? Now, Chris Jones, he's the theater critic there. I've known him for years, and he's one of the best critics that we have going. He's really, really good writer. I think he won the Pulitzer, I'm not sure. But with the help of savvy director Jerry Mitchell, uber-confident, pitch-perfect Samantha Barks, they've made a miracle at the Nederlander Theater. And they've also made changes in the script so that they make the male character, the Richard Gere guy, more of a mess, and they make Vivian more empowered from the beginning. So it's a little more even there. And the score, he says that Bryan Adams scores hooky, anthemic pop with meh lyrics, but it sounds and feels like the era. So in essence, Pretty Woman has found a smart, sweet spot between nostalgic retro romanticism and the current necessity for heroines to take charge and be self-actualized. So a surprising thumbs up there from the Chicago Tribune for Pretty Woman, whereas Bob Verini from Variety had less nice things to say about the show. He says, hey, it takes two sizzling talents, Andy Karl, and Karl is just terrific. I saw him in Rocky, I saw him in Groundhog Day. He's got everything, right? And the newcomer, Samantha Barks. But he says it takes these two sizzling talents and turns them into bland, pretty people singing pretty tunes with nothing much at stake. He says the material is now too sanitized, and he said that what he basically looked forward to was the featured role, or Fay plays Kit, and that's a tangential but welcome in every appearance. So, not so great review from Bob Verini of Variety, and same feelings by Matt Windman, our friend of the Daverhood, who writes for AM New York. He gave the show 2.5 stars, so not terrible. He says it adequately, and the show is handled adequately and competently, but it's unnecessary. Samantha Barks is a gorgeous performer with a strong voice and a bright presence, but she just recreates Julia Roberts and leaves little impression of her own, while Andy Karl looks like he's blankly walking through the show, which Orphe steals. So, what about, we need a female, because we have all these male writers writing about this male fantasy story in this show, which is written by men. How about a female approach to it? Well, we get that, at least, from New York One. Their long-standing critic, Roma Torrey, says that the show has generic lyrics and bland tunes. The cast almost redeems the weak material, and there is some electric choreography by director and choreographer Jerry Mitchell. But overall, not so much. And Ben Brantley from the New York Times, same thing. He said the show's directed as if on automatic pilot, and the problem also is that the musical is just too suffocatingly close, his words, suffocatingly close to the film. And is there one chance? So far we've had one very good review from a major critic. Everybody else has either been meh or eh. Let's do one more from the UK Guardian writer Alexis Solosky, who gave it, oh boy, 1 star. Tuneful, schlocky, and deeply offensive. She says the dance numbers of the show seem borrowed from bar mitzvah B-roll. Rabbi Salway enjoy that. Yikes. There's far more engineering and care devoted to the lingerie than to the story structure. And by the way, just so we know, Solosky really liked Head Over Heels, the Go-Go's musical that opened 2 weeks ago, that a lot of other critics didn't like, but certainly had, shall we say, more ambition than Pretty Woman does. But mostly, I've got to say, pretty negative reviews for Pretty Woman. But this is going to be a real interesting experiment, because, and this surprised the hell out of me, I mentioned this last week, Pretty Woman has been selling very, very well. In previews, it was grossing more than $1 million a week. So people are going, and I guess giving good word of mouth and liking it. Now the reviews have come out. Are they going to really quash it? Is it going to pour damp water on the fire? Because most water tends to be damp. Or is it going to be critic-proof, review-proof? I'm trying to think. I think Mamma Mia was. I don't remember what the critics initially thought of Mamma Mia. I can't imagine that they loved it, and yet audiences says, we don't care, we love it. Will this happen with Pretty Woman remains to be seen, but it is playing at the Nederlander Theater if you want to decide for yourselves. Hey, I want to let you know, this is for some for our New York viewers and readers, but also those in New Jersey, because it's close enough. It's about 45 minutes by train from Manhattan to Paper Mill, or Millburn, New Jersey, where the Paper Mill Playhouse is. And tickets are going on sale on Monday for the new Paper Mill Playhouse season. They've been renovating the theater, so they're getting it ready for September. And here's some of the stuff that they're going to be doing. They're going to show, they're going to have The Color Purple, the musical, Irving Berlin's Holiday Inn, a new show called My Very Own British Invasion, which is a jukebox review of 1960s musicals with a book by Rick Elise, who co-wrote Jersey Boys. So that's something to look out for. Also, the next iteration of a show called Benny and June, which is a musical based on that old show with old movie with Mary Stuart Masterson and Johnny Depp back in 1993. The show premiered at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego last fall and got some pretty good reviews. It's all about this big brother caring for his mentally ill sister, but she falls in love with an eccentric stranger. So it got promising reviews at the Old Globe. Now they're bringing it to Paper Mill in New Jersey as part of their season. They're also bringing back Beauty and the Beast, which has a score co-written by our friend of the Daverhood, Alan Menken. So that is all at Paper Mill this coming season. And by the way, Paper Mill won the 2016 Regional Theater Tony Award. So congrats to them. And if you're a New Yorker and you want to get out of New York for various reasons for a night, there you go, Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey. Hey, they've got some more information now, speaking of movies made into musicals, about Beetlejuice. They're going to be coming to Broadway most likely in 2019, maybe into 2020. But they're getting their cast together. School of Rock's Tony-nominated Alex Brightman will be playing the lead. He will be playing Beetlejuice in Beetlejuice. They also got Rachel Hoffman from the off-Broadway David Bowie musical Lazarus. She will be playing Lydia. That's the Winona Ryder role. She's the daughter who wants to scare the parents. The show tries out at the National Theater in Washington, D.C. in November before then setting its sights on Broadway. And the score is by this Australian guy I've never heard of named Eddie Perfect. No relation to Christine McVie. He's an Australian dude who's a multi-talent, he's an actor, a singer, performer, songwriter, all that stuff. He wrote the score for Beetlejuice, which looks like it will come to Broadway in a year or so. Well, speaking of Broadway and this segment, Inside Broadway, we couldn't really do it the way we do it without the help of this wonderful journal. It's called Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway, and it has been since 1944. Didn't look like this 75 years ago. Now it looks like this. It's very cool. Nice front cover. But, unlike Pretty Woman, the musical, apparently there's real good stuff inside, too. For example, if we go paging through it, look. Second page, we've got a guide to the Broadway season. All the shows, when they're opening, as well as shows that are currently running and where they're located. Okay, that's one page. One page. Next page. A guide to Broadway theaters and their tenants. So what's running right now at the John Golden Theater? I can tell you, it's the Waverly Gallery, which will be, it's dark right now, but the Kenneth Lonergan play, the Waverly Gallery, will be opening on October 25th for a limited run there at this Schubert Theater, which is on West 43rd Street, and has 805 seats, 468 of them in the orchestra. That's the kind of information you get on every page of Performing Arts Insider. Not convinced? Okay, next page. A guide to the press agents. These are the people who handle all the Broadway shows. In other words, if you want to talk to or contact an actor, a designer, a creator, or find out about the show or deal with house seats, these are the people who connect you. They handle the shows, and they deal with the critics and also on some level with the public. If you want to contact them, here's their information. And then we get to the heart of the magazine, our calendar listings of when shows open, close, start previews on Broadway. Then our calendar listings, and you can't really get this anywhere else. The off and off Broadway shows, too, because there's a big competitor that Performing Arts Insider has, and has had for many years, and they do Broadway very well. But nobody touches this magazine in terms of off and off Broadway. So the listings, the calendar of when things are opening and closing. We brought back our cabaret listings. We haven't had them for a long, long time, but we have a wonderful intern who is helping us now. And she is doing what's playing in cabaret at, let's say, Birdland, Don't Tell Mama, Feinstein's, The Duplex, all in one handy place. Rumors. What shows may be coming to Broadway in the months and years ahead. And then we get... Well, we had the heart in the magazine. This is the second heart. It's like a cow with extra stomachs. This has Broadway listings, every show comprehensive with all the producers and all the writers and the actors and the director, the stage managers, the choreographers, the synopsis of the show, some information about the show, and how to contact everyone involved, the theater, the opening dates, the closing dates, all of this for every show on, off, and off Broadway. You get this only in Performing Arts Insider. How do you subscribe? Well, you can fill out this handy coupon on the back and also look at this handsome devil. But you can also go to the website, performingartsinsider.com. Performingartsinsider.com. It's an expensive journal, but the people who subscribe renew year after year because it's the only place they can get this information in this fantastic way. And plus, if you happen to be in and around Manhattan, Theater Circle and the Drama Bookshop, they both carry single issues, but go to performingartsinsider.com to find out how to subscribe. And we want to also give a shout out to the parent company, Total Theater, which puts out a free website. This is, shall we say, separate though connected to the magazine, and it's thousands of theater reviews, Broadway, off-Broadway, regional theater, international theater, and festivals for going back for the last 15, 20 years, and it's absolutely free. Just go to totaltheater.com and take a look. Well, we are looking at Broadway on Dave's Gone By live on this Saturday, August 18th, 2018. It is a little bit after 10:30 in the morning, Mountain Time. And let's see, we're moving forward with some more Broadway news. Well, Kerry Russell, that gorgeous actress, you've seen her on cable TV in The Americans, and she was in the movie version of Waitress. That was the movie that inspired the musical. And she was off-Broadway. She made her off-Broadway New York debut in the Neil LaBute play Fat Pig. Well, she is the actress who is cast alongside Adam Driver in the revival of Burn This. This is the Langford Wilson play that will be directed by Michael Mayer. Speaking of Head Over Heels, he directed that. That is definitely coming to Broadway in March of 2019. Now, cable people know Adam Driver as the weirdly hunky boyfriend of, the lead actress in Girls, the creator of Girls. I'm blanking on her name for the moment, but you know who I'm talking about. You know, she gets naked all the time. So is he. Anyway, I don't know if he gets naked in Burn This, but it's the story of a woman who is grieving over her dead gay friend, and then she finds passion again with this volatile owner of a local restaurant. And I remember I went with my father to the original Broadway Burn This. This has got to be going back about 25, 30 years now. We're watching the show, and it's relatively kind of interesting, rather low-key. And then that character, that restaurant guy, Pale, comes on stage. And Pale was played back then by John Malkovich. And it was like the theater was on fire. Every moment that he was on stage was one of the most electric things I've ever seen. And I saw an off-Broadway revival of, the name of the show, Burn This, a few years back. Didn't have the same excitement. It was well done, but it was just kind of okay, and had a movie star in it, and he was perfectly fine. But there's something about being or watching John Malkovich, and boy, if I could spend 2.5 hours again in that theater with him, and I think it was Joan Allen was playing the young woman. Anyway, we'll just be waiting to see whether Kerry Russell and Adam Driver have that same heat and electricity as they did back then in Burn This. Well, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, and I want to let you know, this I'm going to take a moment out here, because usually I just talk about New York theater. I talk about Broadway, a little bit of off-Broadway, and sometimes Colorado, since that's where I'm doing this show from. But I'm going to take a moment to talk about Los Angeles, because I think this is absolutely great. Center Theater Group in Los Angeles. Now, they run the Mark Taper Forum, as well as the Kirk Douglas theaters, and I think they also do the Amundsen. But we're specifically talking about the Taper and the Kirk Douglas theater. They have instituted a new policy. This policy is, oh my goodness, excuse me. If you are 25 or younger, and you go to the first preview of a show at the Taper or the Douglas, you get in free. Simple as that. Because, that first preview is sometimes like a glorified stage, dress rehearsal. It's like, the actors are still nervous. They haven't really done it in front of an audience. Not every audience member wants to go while things are still being felt out. So this theater is saying, hey, why not? Let's give back a little bit, and let's get people who maybe cannot normally afford to go to our shows, or maybe they can barely afford it, but they want to spend their money on other things. We want different audiences. We want diverse audiences. For that first preview, we're letting in people for free. I think that's absolutely fabulous. If you reserve by telephone, there's a $5 service fee. But if you get it at the box office, it's free. Artistic director Michael Ritchie said, quote, "Our mission is to introduce the largest possible audiences from across Los Angeles to theater. We want to lower any perceived barriers to our organization and to theater overall." Now, I realize not every theater can afford to do this. Not every theater has so many grants or funding or such a big audience base. But if this can serve as a model for other theaters, or maybe, Broadway used to do this, by the way. Broadway, the first preview, or even the preview period on Broadway. The TKTS booth was there, or the little TDF tickets would go out. And it was maybe when tickets were $25 full price when the show was actually going on and opened later. Maybe you could go to a preview for about $15 or $20, or that first preview, when it wanted just people in the seats, they would have real specials, or $5 to get in, or the first 400 people wearing a costume, this and that. I wish there were still more of that, because even now first previews on Broadway are essentially the price of what the Broadway ticket is. So I hope this works for Center Theater Group. I hope they get full houses and people they haven't seen before, and people who are in high school and college-age kids who haven't been coming to the theater, people from neighborhoods where theater is not a thing coming to it. All right, I've spoken my piece, you know what I'm saying. But bravo to Michael Ritchie and CTG. Okay, now, speaking of bravos, did another show that opened on Broadway last week get huzzas or hellrides from the critics? This is the Broadway musical Getting the Band Back Together. And it's got a book by one of the most enterprising producers out there, a fellow named Ken Davenport. And he is, a lot of producers, they want their name on the playbill above the title, and that's about it. They don't want to be noticed. They obviously they want their investors to notice them, but they don't want to be part of the whole thing. They want to stand up there on Tony night with a million other people, sink the stage with their weight, and nod and wave and smile and say, "Oh my God, it's the best night of my life," and that's it. The rest of the time, they don't want to be known. Ken Davenport is the opposite. Ken Davenport is trying all these different ways of raising money. Sometimes he's gone to regular people for small investments. I think he did that for the revival of Godspell a few years ago. And he's got money in some hits and a lot of flops, but he spreads it out. He gives tutorials on how to produce. He has podcasts. You have to pay for these things. They're not free. So that there's kind of a thing there. That's how he raises his money, is by doing all that. But also he's got investments. He's got his name on a couple of huge hits, so he never has to really work again. But he loves the theater and he loves producing. And he has also written the book for this new musical called Getting the Band Back Together. It's at the Belasco Theater, and it opened this past Monday, August 13th. He co-wrote the book with Sarah Salzberg and a group that does improv called Grundleshots. That's their name's Grundleshots. The score is by a fellow named Mark Allen, and it's directed by John Rando. Here's the plot. It's about these middle-aged guys who were in a band back in high school, and they want to get the band back together. So, did the critics like this show, which is a new musical, right? Targeted towards the Bridge and Tunnel, New Jersey crowd, and that feeling, that era. How did it do? Well, we'll start again with Greg Evans of Deadline.com, who said, "This playful musical is more infectious than you might expect. High-spirited laughs can still be squeezed from this full Monty-type setup. Director John Rando cranks up the knowing winks and fist-pumping classic rock nostalgia to 11. Music sticks to anthems and power ballads. So he's on the fence, a little more negative if you read the full review, but not a slam. So somewhat promising. Elizabeth Vincentelli, our friend of the Daverhood who used to write for the New York Post, now she's got a review in Newsday, so congratulations on that. But she says that the musical works too hard. The show is a willfully silly piece of cheese with seemingly endless sentimental plot points, cliches, and groan-inducing jokes. I wouldn't know anything about that. She did like the villain character played by Brandon Williams. He gives the show a much-needed satirical edge. So kind of a mostly negative review from Elizabeth Vincentelli. And then this one surprised me. This is my old friend Frank Scheck from The Hollywood Reporter. Now, Frank is a theater critic. He has also been a rock music critic for The Reporter and other places for decades. So he loves rock and roll. So this should be in his wheelhouse. But he says, quote, to say getting the band back together is unsophisticated is an understatement. Though some comic bits, both physical and verbal, are very amusing, the material's thinness begs the question of why anyone thought the show needed to be 2.5 hours long. Well, what about Chris Jones? Chris Jones, who surprisingly liked Pretty Woman, he also reviewed Getting the Band Back Together, and he says Brandon Williams, one of the actors, is very funny. Marilu Henner, the only quote-unquote star who's in the show, she doesn't do a lot, but she gives an entertaining star turn. And the show, though, plays like a low-rent, full Monty, crossed with Rock of Ages and transplanted to New Jersey. The state, and I love this, New Jersey, the state condemned throughout eternity to play the role of making New Yorkers feel better about themselves. The rest of Chris Jones' review was not very positive about Getting the Band Back Together, nor did Jesse Green of the New York Times like the show. He called it a calculated rehash of 1,000,000 tired tropes, best described by Broadway math. School of Rock plus Full Monty divided by The Wedding Singer and multiplied by zeros. Ooh. Did not like it, nor did Matt Windman of AM New York. Gave it a big old 1-star total embarrassment. Songs range from generic to poor to pointless. The book is hackneyed, long-winded, and awkward. Well, what did you really think, Matt? And then Time Out New York, Adam Feldman also gave the show 1 star. You can smell the flop sweat before the show even begins. When the book writer and producer, Ken Davenport, delivers a curtain speech, he actually goes up before the show starts and tries to warm the audience up. The show is supremely unoriginal and feels like a community theater vanity production that somehow surfaced on Broadway. Oy, did anybody like Getting the Band Back Together? Anybody? Yes! Jesse Oxfeld, who used to write for The Observer, he writes for New York Stage Review and says that despite the flaws, it's all just a really good time. Its goofiness is so good-natured, it's impossible not to enjoy yourself. But what do I know? I'm from New Jersey. Quote, Jesse Oxfeld from New York Stage Review. So, yeah, according to nearly all of the critics, the band should have stayed apart. But you can make up your own mind. You can see the show at Broadway's Belasco Theater. When I come into Manhattan in October, I may try and see that or Pretty Woman, and I'll report back to you on my thoughts. But let's hear a track from the cast recording of Getting the Band Back Together. See how you feel about the music and the lyrics and whether it's appropriate for time or place or just plain derivative. And then after this, we'll be back with Rabbi Saul and Sandy Helberg.
Plug in, tune up, and slam to the cheap seats. Rock out and pump your fist to the beat. We're back in town, we're taking no prisoners. Waking the dead on DuPont Street. Brush off your torn up jeans and rock t-shirts. Squeeze my hairy ass in the leather pants. Get all the guys and crank up the speakers. See if we can give it one more chance. We're getting the band back together. Getting the boys who rock to rock again.
Hi, I'm Sandy Helberg. Helberg. You may remember me from episodes of MASH and Newhart or 3 Mel Brooks films. But here I am talking to Rabbi Sal Solomon on Dave's Gone By on UNC Radio.
Oh, shalom, shalom, damn it. This is your old pal, Rabbi Sal Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am so delighted to have a comedy actor with us in the Daverhood. This man has worked with so many people in so many ways. He was an early, almost founding member of the Groundlings in Los Angeles, from whence sprung Lorraine Newman and Pee Wee Herman and Jennifer Coolidge and Pat Morita and Maya Rudolph. He was also in 3, count them, 1, 2, 3, or as I like to say, Achat Shtaim Shalosh, 3 Mel Brooks movies, including Spaceballs and High Anxiety. He acted with Tony Danza and Michelle Pfeiffer in the Hollywood Nights. He's done sitcoms. He's written for sitcoms, and he even has a rather interesting family line with a Holocaust on one side and a blockbuster sitcom on another. Will you please welcome to the Daverhood, Sandy Helberg. Shalom, Sandy.
Shalom, was machst du?
Not so good. Was machst du, though?
Schwitzing. It's hot here. It's 100 degrees. We have fires, but it's nice otherwise.
Is your sky all full of smoke because you're out there in L.A. or wherever you are?
No, not yet, but it's slowly heading this way. But the heat is unbearable. But that's why we moved to California.
Is it a record there? There's somewhere that they're having 116 degrees right now.
Yeah, in Palm Springs, it's just too hot, you know. Unless you have a camel and you can pitch a tent somewhere.
If they're like a camel, I'd rather be humping. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry.
But you know, seriously.
Oh. So, first, I wasn't even going to ask about this until towards the very end. Oh. But the weird, freaky part is that your voice sounds almost exactly like your son's voice. I wasn't expecting this, I have to say. You are the father of Simon Helberg. He is a cast member, of course, on The Big Bang Theory, where he plays Howard Wolowitz. I almost thought he picked up the phone rather than you. It's weird.
Well, if he was living here, I would be surprised too, you know.
Well, at this point, he's...
to get it from somewhere, and thanks God he got it from me.
I know, but he's, at least, I guess, 30 years younger than you are, and yet it has the exact same voice.
Yeah, and he looks a little bit like... He looks a lot like me, but he's about a foot shorter. So I still have that on him. I told him when he is my height, then he doesn't have to be respectful to me anymore.
Oh.
But that's not going to happen.
I don't think so. Although, you know what? With the money he has now, he could get implants. He could lengthen his legs by a foot and beat you.
And on a stack of $100 bills and be taller than me.
Obviously, you're going to be proud of him. How often do you get to see him?
You know, every once in a while. I mean, he's got 2 kids, and, you know, they work all the time. We're on this side of town, he's on that side of town, but we see each other. It's good to see him, and it's good to see that he's happy and that he's fulfilled his dreams. Look, it's like winning the lottery, honestly. To get on a show like this for 12 years, very few shows. MASH, I think, was on 11 or 12 years. I did one of those. But one show, 12 years, making that kind of money.
Oh, yeah. If you last 4 years and you're in syndication, already you're making funny money. You're making the kind of money that could buy my shul 20 times over.
I keep telling him he needs to buy a synagogue, you know. He doesn't have to go in public. He can have his own synagogue in the backyard and take the kids and...
Well, no. He needs 2 synagogues, because one he has to buy, and the other one he has, but he doesn't go to.
That's right, but he does make donations every year.
There you go. That's
right.
And
he could have a live-in rabbi in the guest house.
You know, give him my number. Give him my email, my Twitter feed, my MySpace. Give him my wine computer even. Just go back, 8-track tapes. All of it.
8-track tapes, yes. Those were classics.
We're kidding around here. By the way, you're Sandy, so your Jewish name was probably what, Shlomo or Shmuel?
Shmuel Moshe Helberg.
Shmuel Moshe Helberg. Oh, my God. So you are Jewish?
That's what they say, yeah. You know, years ago, my agent got a call from these producers who I knew, and they wanted me to come in and play the part of a priest. My agent told them, "Are you sure you want him to play the priest? He's got a map of Israel tattooed on his face." But I did play the priest. It was some kind of inside joke, and I never would wear a collar like that again.
Oh, yeah, but, especially not when you're schwitzing like this.
You know, see, I was born in Frankfurt, Germany, and, you know, my parents were Holocaust survivors, so when we came to this country, I was about a year old, and we wound up in Ohio, and they sent someone from the UJA as our sponsor, and the woman was there to meet us, and the woman asks my father, she said, "What a cute baby, what's his name?" And my father holds me up in the air like Kunta Kinte, you know, and said, "This is Shmuel Moshe Helberg." And the woman said, "Not in this country." And she gave me the name Sandy. I don't know if she had a dog or a bird named Sandy.
It is a good name for a comedy person. Sandy Barron, if you remember him.
Yeah, but at a year old, who knew?
Oh, true. Now, again, you not only have the Jewish connection, you have with your parents the Holocaust connection, so of course we have to talk about the Holocaust. And it kind of ticks me off when you got people who say, oh, they were Holocaust survivors. They survived the Holocaust, and really, they got out of France, smuggled out in like 1936. It's not the same as your parents who were in concentration camp.
They were there for 6 years. They went in at the beginning of the war. My father was 13 years old, and my mother was the same age. And
it was near Auschwitz, but it wasn't Auschwitz?
No, they were in Auschwitz.
They were in Auschwitz. Oh, wow.
They were in Poland. That's where they grew up. My wife and I went to Auschwitz about 2 years ago. Being the romantic guy I am, I decided we would go there for our wedding anniversary. But
oh, God.
My wife will never forget it. But I said, look, I understand there's a beautiful Weston Auschwitz. And people think this is in poor taste, but it does say use showers at your own risk. But, you know, seriously, my parents did go through it. And then like I said, we moved to Ohio.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop you because that's an hour-long conversation right there. Your parents were 13. I would assume, you said they were there for 6 years. I would assume after a year or two, they cycle through and die. How the fuck did they live?
Well, my father, at 13, he was too small to do any heavy labor, but his older brother was a barber, so he was able to cut hair, and they used him. He cut the soldiers' hair, and also he was a real schmoozer. He made himself indispensable, and they liked him, and so he would go back and forth from the women's camp to cut the soldiers' hair, and he also would shine their boots. And he would take the boots back and forth, and he used to smuggle bread into the boots to the women's side and smuggle it to his two sisters and the woman who would become my mother. They would catch him once in a while, and they'd slap him around, but he knew they weren't going to get rid of him.
They weren't going to shoot him. They weren't... Yeah.
And, you know, when I started working and doing, you know, comedy, when we became extremely successful, he always had this thing of being in show business. So he said to me, you know, when I was in the camps, I was the funniest guy there. And I looked at him and I said, now that's a tough crowd. He made jokes and he entertained, and that's how they kept themselves going. It is unimaginable that they spent 6 years there, but and when we went to Auschwitz, I'll tell you, it just brings you to your knees. You cannot believe it. But anyhow, that's the humorous stuff. I do a solo show called You Can Only Blame So Much on the Holocaust. And, you know, it's about growing up in Ohio as a refugee, as a Jew, you know, I went to school when I was 7, 8 years old. I talked like Jackie Mason, and they had never heard anything like that, you know. Come on, boys, we play baseball. I hit the ball, you run around the bases, and I catch the ball, and I throw the ball. And so they sent me to speech therapy to get rid of the accent.
Yeah, it's a little close to George Plimpton there, I think. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what that means, but...
Yeah.
But here's another. I can't let the parent thing go. So, your parents somehow survive 6 years in literal hell.
Right.
And yet, when they get out, they come to America, your father will say, oh, this is Shmuel, etc. Your mother and your father apparently were active in synagogues and doing things.
Right.
Why did they stay Jewish? What did they believe in? How could they still be practicing believing in God?
Well, my father was, I remember as a kid growing up, very religious, and he believed there was a reason that he survived and that my mother survived. He did tell me that it was just a matter of what were your options, to survive or to die. And a lot of the people in the camps that they knew did die. My mother was the only one in her family that survived. My father had two sisters who survived.
Wow.
He told me how he came home from school and went home and went in the house, and it was empty. The doors and windows were open, the drawers were open. His family was gone, and he never saw them again. And he went back into the town, and he got a truck came by and just grabbed him and put him in the truck and took him to Auschwitz. And
right, but again, so all of that leads up to the question: when he's in America, when they're married, when they're having you and raising you,
right?
Why were they not atheist?
He just always had a strong faith in Judaism, and as you said, very active in the synagogues. He, in Ohio, in Toledo, Ohio, my father, there's one Jewish cemetery, and he built a memorial to the Holocaust survivors, and it was in the Jewish cemetery, and he just had a lot of faith in God because God was good to him afterwards. He became very successful in business, and again, this is someone who, at 13, finished their formal education, and he davened every day. So you have to have, I think, something to hold on to go through that and become an atheist is sort of like not believing in the reason you may have been chosen to survive.
Oh, that's interesting. We're getting deep here. We're getting deep.
I know, and where are the jokes, huh? Where are the punchlines?
Let's have some comedy.
I have to tell you, though, when we went to Auschwitz, we drove. We rented a car in Czechoslovakia, and we drove, and I got stopped for speeding, and I got a ticket, and someone said to me they would never imagine hearing that two Jews were in such a hurry to get to Auschwitz, they got a speeding ticket. And that's what it was. But the thing is that they have, across the street from the camp, they have condominiums that have views into the camp.
Oh, God.
I thought, how do you advertise that? You pay more to view into the camp, or you pay less. The condos come right up to the road across the street from Auschwitz. I guess you pay more if you have a view of the entrance where the train used to come in. But
you're joking, but it's almost. Remember when the nuns were camping out in Auschwitz? And it's like,
yes. When we were there, I went into one of the barracks, and there were a group, maybe 8, 9 rabbis from all over the world. And I told them the story, and they said a prayer for my parents in this one of the barracks. They could have been in or not, but it just, like I said, I felt I had to go there to see what they went through. Nobody else in my family was too excited, and no one else went, but I went, and it was, like I said, it does change you. You get a different perspective of life. But my father, to him, every day was a gift. He continued as a barber once the war was over, and once he came to this country. He started out working for, of course, in those days, an anti-Semitic guy, and my father bought his barbershop from him and then had 3, 4 barbershops and got into real estate and became very successful. And he had 3 spoiled sons, although I was the one born in Germany, the other 2...
I was going to ask about that. At what point did you, because we're all talking, of course, about immigration, when did you become an American citizen? Are you a German citizen, essentially, dual?
No, I didn't. I became an American citizen when I was a junior in high school. I don't know why we waited that long, and if I think, 16, 17? At a certain age, if I hadn't become a citizen, I would have to take the test. And if I failed the test, It's like what's going on
Right,
today
yeah.
with ICE, They would have sent me back to Germany, and what would I do there? I mean, so I became a citizen, and at that time they said you can change your name from Sandy to whatever you want. So I went through all these names, Sean, Lance, Christopher, anything that...
Not Christopher, Gewalt.
Too Jewish.
Yeah.
And then I thought, how am I going to leave school one day as Sandy and come back the next day as Lance? So I just kept the name Sandy. But it came in handy in prom time. All the guys would get discounts for prom tuxedos. I got a discount for a prom dress. And I looked pretty good in that dress, too, I'll tell you.
Wait a minute, I'm joking. Oh, because it was like a female name? Is that the reason? I didn't get the joke there.
Yeah, because it would come to Miss Sandy Helberg. And
Oh. Well, I'm sure you did look kind of cute. And it's funny, we were talking about Sandys and Sandy being an appropriate name for Jews and acting and comedy. You met another Sandy, I guess when you were in your 20s, who taught you some acting stuff.
Sandy Meisner.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another Jew named Sandy.
What did you learn from him?
You have to really get in touch with your emotions, with your feelings. You can't pretend. You have to be in the moment. He was a great teacher. Jeff Goldblum and I were in school together.
Ooh, what was he like back then?
Back then, he was still taller than everyone.
Yeah.
He was a kid, and he had just come from Pittsburgh. Well, we actually had 3 Jews in class. I don't know, you know the comedian Jonathan Katz?
Vaguely. He's not Mr. Katz, the psychiatrist, one with one herky-jerky animation?
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Katz, that's him. Yes, okay. Yes, I know who he is.
He was in the class as far as Jews, and Meisner asked us to do something, to think of something personal, and he went around and asked everyone what it was, and he got to Jonathan Katz, and he said, what is it? He said he was trying to remember all the dead people he knew. And Meisner looked at him, and there was this pause, and he said, get out. And he said, John said, well, he said, no, get out. And he threw him out of school right there, right on the spot. And that was it.
Why? What the hell?
Well, he felt that was like, it was a joke. It wasn't serious. And look, we kind of laughed at it. And it was not about being funny, which was good for me, too, because I always focused on that. And thank God that came naturally, so it was the other part that I had to learn, to be serious, to play it serious, not to look for the joke, not to look for the punchline, and so he was out.
You have to be real to be funny. If you start behaving funny, it's not funny anymore.
Right, and if you try and make everything a joke, or if you try and look for the laugh, like the show I do, the solo show, I don't rehearse it, I don't have a script, I do it off the top. I mean, I know what I'm going to say, but I lived it, and it just gives me so much more freedom by not memorizing. I talk to the audience, and
where can people see you do?
At the Groundlings. I've been back there doing the show, every few months. I was one of the original Groundlings.
Now explain, Groundlings. They're not just improv. There were improv sketches, comedy. There were before or after things like Chicago City Limits and Second City, or around the same time-ish?
The Second City was really the first one. They started in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
At that time, they were the Compass Players, but the Groundlings officially started like in 1974. So I had just come to L.A. I heard about this group. At that time, it was just, like 7-8 people in the entire group, and we had a 33-seat theater in a terrible neighborhood. Joining that was just, again, a liberating, opening myself up experience. So I was one of the originals, and I still go back and do shows. We've done a lot of anniversary shows, and...
So I mentioned some of the people who came out of the Groundlings over the years. Some of the earliest ones included Lorraine Newman was there.
Right, well, Lorraine Newman and I, she and I did a sketch together where she played, can you imagine, she played a shiksa, and she was married to me, Morris Potemkin, a Jew from Flushing, Queens. And we were at marriage counseling, and the counselor was played by her sister. And so that was the sketch. At that time, Lorne Michaels and Lily Tomlin came to see the show. It was before Saturday Night Live, and Lily was doing a special, and she had me and Lorraine and a couple of the other groundlings on that special doing those characters.
But let me ask you this, and this goes to also the question about your son before as well. It's like, what do you do when you're a member of the Groundlings or you're an actor just like 100 other actors that you know, that you've gone to dinner with, that you've done sketches with, and then 1 or 2 or 5 of them, you've had a perfectly good career and a long career, but other people, she gets Saturday Night Live. This person gets a sitcom. This person is playing Vegas doing stand-up comedy, and you're still at the level of auditioning and, knocking on doors and getting unemployment on the weeks that you're not working. How do you not be jealous or vengeful?
Well, a lot of it is timing. Like I said, my son, I did 4 or 5, 6 pilots. Some got picked up, some didn't. It is like hitting the lottery. Because originally he turned them down. He didn't want to do the show. And then they came back a year later and asked if he would do the pilot again. And
Wait, did he ever tell you why he turned down a sitcom?
He had reasons, Chuck Lorre, 2.5 Men. He had just come out of NYU, so... he thought he was going to do, Dostoevsky on TV. I said, no, this is what's going to do TV. This is the guy you want to work for. So he went back the second year and did it, and, the rest is history.
I want to talk more, though, about your career.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, my career, again, it's all a matter of timing. A lot of people who I worked with in the Groundlings, Phil Hartman.
Well, you've done better than he has in the long run, let's face it.
Yeah, but Phil came to see one of the shows years ago. My son, when Simon was about 12, 13, around there, Phil came over to the house, and I was flattered. He told my son, he said, I came to see the Groundling show, and he said, I saw your dad, and he said he was one of the funniest people I ever saw, and he said, that's what I want to do. And he joined the Groundlings, and Phil and I did a lot of sketches together. Also, Lorne Michaels had a stick up his ass about me because I don't care if he hears, I think he's a self-loathing Jew.
Who isn't? Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Well, and the character I did was very Jewish, Morris Potemkin, and so when we were doing Lily's show, he didn't want me to do the Jewish character. Lily Tomlin loved the character. She said, I want him to do it. So it's like I'm standing there, and they're arguing, and of course Lily won out, and I did the character, and after that, Lorne Michaels didn't like me. I thought, well, hey.
Well, Michaels, he didn't get Adam Sandler for a long time. He didn't understand, even though he hired him. And then, of course, Sandler made the Hanukkah song, and suddenly it was okay, I guess, to be Jewy on Saturday Night Live.
It was also for him an ego thing that he didn't want the character, and he was overrode. Anyway, they decided they wanted it, so he lost that battle. Look, it is what it is. Phil Hartman told me, he used to mention me when every beginning of the new seasons to Lorne, what about Sandy? And he always got the same answer, too Jewish. So, he's one guy.
Well, he's not one guy, he's an industry. Lorne Michaels is
he's industry. One guy, he's one industry. He's honestly one show, one job. And so there were plenty of other jobs and shows. And
well, the other industry that you got into, of course, is Mel Brooks.
Right.
So tell us, how did you meet Mel Brooks, and how did you get into that first movie of his and then others?
Well, I had a friend who worked with Mel. He suggested me to Mel, Jack Riley.
Oh, Jack, is he still alive? He used to be on Newhart.
Yeah, no, he passed away years ago. But I knew Jack, and Jack knew Mel real well, and Jack set it up, and I went to I couldn't believe it. It was like an out-of-body experience, because as a kid, I remember watching Mel Brooks films, and so I go to his office at 20th Century Fox, and they tell me to go in. From the door to his office to his desk was like a block. a block long. And he sat behind this huge desk, and I kept walking and walking. I thought, I'm just never going to get to the desk. I sat down, and he didn't have me audition. We talked for almost an hour. And what it was I made him laugh. And I'll tell you, I almost cried when he started laughing. And we just kibitzed and talked and schmoozed. And he said, well, the reason why I had you come in was I was going to give you a small part. But I like you, I'm going to give you a bigger small part. And so that was high anxiety.
Oh, mit Mazel. And then he used you again and again.
Yeah, and I never had to audition. They would call. He has this role. In History of the World, originally he hired me to play Einstein. We shot a scene. I had a 2-hour makeup with the hair and everything, and we had to sing, and he was going to play Hitler. We were going to ice skate. It was a whole thing, and he decided to cut that scene. It just didn't fit. So he calls me and tells me he's doing the Last Supper in History of the World, and he wanted me in that. So I came, and again, every experience with Mel was great, and I worked with John Hurt, who played Jesus, and the people you got to meet, and Mel is so Hamish, and he's so open to suggestions and ideas, and the great part was after we finished working, I shared like a trailer with John Hurt, and it was separated by a folding door, and he knocks on the folding door, John Hurt, and said, care for a drink? And I opened the curtain, and I was like ankle deep in empty bottles of wine and booze, and John Hurt and I just sat there the rest of the night drinking and laughing and talking, and so he gave me those kind of opportunities to meet those kind of people, and then Spaceballs, which was a lot of fun. Again, he let us improvise. So he liked it, and I improvised a line where I said, after I do the thing and I'm leaving, I said I'm going to go home and work on my putts. And because I had a caddy there with the golf clubs. And so Mel says he likes the line. He says, but it ends the scene, so he has to give it to Rick Moranis.
Oh, well.
But he says, if you think of something, and so I did. When the screen goes black, it comes back up, I'm like nuzzling, making out with my nurse. That's what I came up with.
All right, hey, smart
what
man.
What a job, like I said, it was, and I run into him a lot out here. He's just, like I said, such a Hamish guy, and I met him with his wife when Simon was a little boy. Yeah, he invited us. He invited me to bring Simon to the set when I wasn't working the day, to the Spaceballs set. Really was interested in showing a kid like what's going on, and he showed us around the set. And he would call me and just ask me to come and hang out, which who could refuse?
Oh, of course. But again, I'm also wondering, like, he did a couple of movies after those 3. Did you ever feel like, hey, Mel, can't you...
Man, look, every actor thinks that, but he went through that cycle, and in those other movies, he used, except for, like, the regulars, well, I was a regular.
Right.
He used a different cast. He didn't use any of the regulars that he used. It was...
In Life Stinks or Dracula Dead and Loving It, those later on, the later films there.
Right. But, if there's nothing in it for me, there's nothing in it. I'm objective enough to know if there's not a part in there, unless he's going to sit down and start writing stuff specifically for me.
Now, I'm always wondering how actors are able to kind of be, as you say, objective about that and to just release it and not think, oh, he used me for a small part 2 years ago. Maybe in his next movie, we got along really well. I'll be the star, and it just doesn't happen that way. Usually,
the stars were Mel and Gene Wilder and Feldman, Dom. But the great thing is when he'd call me and say, why don't you come and we're going to be shooting this scene, and so I'd be sitting there in a circle on History of the World. I'd be sitting in a circle, get this, with Shecky Green, Ron Carey, Dom DeLuise, and we would be kibitzing and laughing. To me, that was a privilege. No, so he didn't hire me all the time as an actor, but he did feel that, he liked me to be there. He liked, I guess, my energy, and I could sit around and hold my own, which I usually did, with guys like that, with Dom DeLuise and Shecky Green, because those guys don't stop. They are just on, and they're hysterical. He invited me to meet Richard Pryor when he was supposed to do History of the World, and he was showing Richard Pryor, and I was there, the sets and showing him around, and then a few days later, before he was supposed to start work, Richard Pryor set himself on fire.
Oh, yes, of course.
And so Mel hired Gregory Hines. I mean, he literally came in at the last minute.
Now, see, you could have taken the Richard Pryor part right there. You know, a little bit of
makeup. That's what I thought, but Mel said, come on, don't be crazy. But anyway, so like I said, it's a privilege knowing him. When I run into him, it is, I'm excited to see him and to kibitz with him and schmooze with him. And one of the people that he used as a regular had died a few years ago, and they had a memorial service, and I was there, and Mel was there, and I was sitting near the front, and Mel said, Ira had done, I think, the most films with me. He said, after Ira comes, and he looks down at me, he says, Sandy Helberg. I said, please. I said, don't put a curse on me. I don't have to be the one that has the most. But there is a website who was in the most Mel Brooks movies. I was somewhere in the top 10 or top 15, I don't know. I invited him to come see the Groundlings. He said, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not coming, because if I go to see your show, everyone's going to turn around and look at me, and no one's going to watch you. And he was right. Because we had celebrities come, and when they came, the audience would just turn around and look at them.
Well, you could put him in the front row, then nobody would turn around.
They would just look at the top of their head.
Yeah, that's true.
No, celebrities, they always like to sit in the back. They don't want to distract from the show, so they usually sit in the back in the dark somewhere.
We're talking historically and kibitzingly with Sandy Helberg, Schmoley Helberg, I'll call you, about all the people that you know, all these things that you've done. So yes, I do want anecdotes, because you've appeared in so many movies and TV shows, so I just want to know, little stories about the people that you've worked with. For example, you actually did a TV show. I can't believe how TV was in the 1970s. They built a show around the guy who played the voice of Carlton, your doorman, on Rhoda.
Right, Lorenzo Music.
Yeah, you did the Lorenzo and Henrietta Music Show. What the hell was that?
As a writer and an actor.
Yeah.
Lorenzo was also a very prolific writer. He created Rhoda.
Oh.
He and his partner, Dave Davis, created the Bob Newhart Show. Lorenzo and his wife, they were like a folk singing act in the early days. At that time, they were talking about this doorman character, and Lorenzo said he'll just do it. Again, he came to the Groundlings. He called me the next day. I didn't believe it was real. I thought, Carlton, the doorman, is calling me? What does he want from me? And he explained he's doing this variety show. Richard Lewis was a writer on that show. That's where I met Richard from.
And Henry Winkler was on the program. Pre-Happy Days.
As a guest, yeah.
So it was already post-Happy, okay.
Yeah. No, I knew Henry right at the beginning of Happy Days, because I was working on the Paramount lot at that time as a production assistant, and they were just starting Happy Days, and I don't know, I didn't know him. We ran into each other in the commissary, and we just, again, started schmoozing. He's just come from New York, and we became friends. Cool. And like I said, the rest is, it's just the business has a lot to do with timing. I knew Henry. Henry was the antithesis of the character he played. He was a refined Jewish boy from a German Jewish family, and he was hardly a thug, and you wouldn't even think of him. But he had already done Lords of Flatbush, so I think that was...
And every other role that Henry Winkler has done since Happy Days, he's a Nebuchadnezzar Jew. I mean, he was brilliant on Arrested Development, but what is he? He's Nebuchadnezzar Jewish Henry Winkler. It was so weird that
That's
the
who
Fonz...
He is. Yeah. Right. I did the pilot for Love Boat. And
that's right, you were going to be Gopher.
Yes, I played Gopher. There was a 2-hour movie of the week, and I played Gopher, and the rest of the cast was also completely different. Dick Van Patten played the doctor. didn't get picked up. They called me. They said, no, it didn't get picked up. So what happened was then I went to work on the Lorenzo and Henrietta music show as a writer and an actor. They picked up our option, and then they called, and they said, we're going to do a second Love Boat. Lorenzo's, the production company, MTM, which was the Mary Tyler Moore production company, wouldn't let me out for 2 weeks because I had a contract with them. And they said, if you leave to go do this, you'll be blackballed, which in those days they could do. And I did have a contract with them, and they had the option to either let me go do it or not. And they chose not to, and I never heard a word from Fred Grandy. Isn't that amazing? Ungrateful son of a bitch. Anyway.
There's that anger. There's that revenge.
There's that Jewish hostility. I play a character. I used to play a character in the Groundlings called Jackie Moldavan, and he was a Jerry Lewis character, and I would bring people up in the audience. And that's when I became like Don Rickles. I would insult these people, and the audience loved it. You know, and
of course.
So the Love Boat sailed without me, but that's the way the business is, you know.
Now this is one of maybe my favorite thing that I found about you on Wiki, because we were talking about before how ridiculous it was that they cast you as a priest in something. Right. But there was another show. Tell me if this is true, because I find this hilarious. In 1979, there was a show called Flatbush, where they cast you as a Puerto Rican delivery boy from a supermarket, right? Of all things, as a Puerto Rican kid.
My name was Figueroa.
Right.
And the other guys were Italians, and they were Italian.
But the funny part is not even just the ridiculousness of TV casting. It's that the show was apparently so ethnically offensive that Brooklyn Borough President Howard Golden demanded that CBS pull the plug.
Yeah, we did 7 episodes, and they canceled it after 3. They took it off the air. That's pretty shocking, that they only aired 3 episodes, but it was still, it was antiquated. It looked like New York in the 40s.
Mm. And have you seen those episodes ever? Have you looked at them 30, 40 years later and go, oh my God?
Yeah, and the thing was, then I looked exactly like Simon does on his show. My hair was exactly the same, and I played the nerd, which is what I always played.
Welcome to the club, let me tell you.
Yeah. But I worked hard not to be that in real life, because I didn't want to get pushed around, and you couldn't get girls. I couldn't get girls anyway, because I've been married my entire life, so...
Mit Mazel, how many years?
43.
Mit Mazel, mit Glick.
And they've been 3 of the happiest years of my life. But seriously, no, my wife is from Brooklyn.
Of course.
Her maiden name, her name was Harriet Birnbaum.
Good.
And I remember when I met her, I said, oh my God, what a Jewish name. I said to her, you should change your name. I didn't realize it would be to my name, but... Yeah, it's been 43 years, and...
Well, wait, why would you change?
Now we have a 2-year-old.
No.
Yeah. See, people don't know you can still be fertile at this age.
Wait a minute. No. Wait, are you joking, or do you adopt, or are you going to make a bad joke that will offend you?
No, it's not a bad joke. She is our son's daughter, and...
because we should mention that. I'm treading lightly on this. You actually have 2... We keep talking, of course, about Simon from Big Bang Theory.
Yes, we have a 23-year-old, and he and his girlfriend just made some bad choices. So we got her... We've had her since she's 4 months old. So now she's 2 years old. She is just the light of our life, although I'm exhausted, I'm schwitzing, my back hurts, my front hurts, everything hurts. But
well, you can't imagine that you must be, in your 70s, that you would be raising, essentially, a 2-year-old girl.
I'm not in my 70s yet.
Oh, sorry, pardon me, excuse me.
That's okay, I may look like I'm in my 70s.
Don't we all?
I'm at the tail end of my 60s. Yeah. We're out with her, and people look at us, and I give them the same joke, well, we didn't know we were still fertile, but...
So is your son, how is I hate to say the other son, but the one who is not on the multi-million-dollar TV show,
right.
But he's had his problem. Is he clean, as it were?
he's working on it. You know, he's working on it now. And
have you gone to Chabad?
Is that the thing in Israel?
No, they're the folks who did the telethons all day, still do.
Oh, Chabad, of course. I know the rabbi out here in Malibu, you know.
Well, no, it's not about that. They do drug treatment and alcohol treatment. That's what they have the telethon for every Rosh Hashanah, is that they help get people. Back in the day, they had Carol O'Connor, that great Jew, hosting the telethon.
And John Voight.
You know the telethon. Of course you do.
Of course I know the telethon. And Jan Murray would be on.
Yes! Let's have a tote! Oh, I love it.
But, look, you know, we were living in Malibu at the time, and it's not the greatest environment for kids because a lot of the kids hardly ever saw their parents. They had step-parents. Again, we were always the only couple still married. You know, a lot of Simon's parents, his friends' parents, had been remarried and divorced, and so we're old-fashioned. We like to stay together, and why not? We're in love. Who else would I be with other than Demi Lovato? What happened to her?
Exactly.
Oh, no, she's in rehab now. Anyway, but yeah, that's how it was. My father, to get back to this, after the war, went and looked for my mother. Went to Poland, traveled around. He finally found where she was living. And she almost didn't recognize him. You know, in the camps, he weighed 93 pounds, had a shaved head, and he showed up at her door. Now he weighed 98 pounds and had a big head of hair, and he had a double-breasted suit that was so big it wrapped around him 2-3 times. He wanted her to go with him, and she said, I have a boyfriend, he's in the Polish army, he's still on the front lines, which I always wondered, the war was over, what were they doing on the front lines, the Polish? Cleaning up, I guess. And so he convinced her to at least go for a walk, and they went for a walk, and the lights would go on, they would go off, and he said he had to leave. She walked him to the train station, and he got on the train, and she was on the platform, and he took her by the hand, and he looked at her and said, if you come with me, I'll take care of you for your whole life. She said, but I don't have any luggage. He said, never mind, and he pulled her on the train, and they were married almost 60 years.
This is going to be a weird connection thing, but it's a Steven Spielberg connection. Did they ever do the Show Up Project? Did they ever talk and give their experiences, talk about them?
My father spoke to me a lot about it. He didn't want to do the Show Up because it would make him emotional, and he didn't like being emotional in public. My aunt, his sister, my wife and I went to Washington, and we went to the Holocaust Museum, and they found things on my parents that I had never seen before, documents, and then they asked who my aunts and uncles were, and we're standing there, and I hear my Aunt Esther's voice, and I look on the screen, and there she is, and she did one of those interviews. She would talk about my father. He was as her little brother. And she said, my little brother, and we did this with my little brother. She survived the camps also. She lost a husband and 2 children, and the war was almost over, and they were bombing, and they were marching them as fast as they could to the crematoriums, and there was somehow she found a loose floorboard and hid under there for a few days, until they were liberated. And she came out, and she married her, which was common then, I didn't know. She married her brother-in-law, the brother of her late husband.
But I bring up Steven Spielberg, not only because of the Shoah thing, but there's a connection there. You played him in something.
When we first moved to Malibu, I have to say, Spielberg and I looked like twin brothers. It was interesting living out there because every other person thought I was Spielberg. They would come up to me in the grocery store, and one time I was coming out of the grocery store and I was getting into my car, and this woman came running over and said, Steven. I said, I'm not Steve. She said, no, hi, it's me, Jane, remember me? We met a few weeks ago at a party, and I said, no, I'm really not him. She was so pissed. She said, oh, okay, go ahead and be like that. Go ahead, now you don't know me? And she slammed my car door and walked off, On the beach, a woman came over to me with a bunch of kids. Oh, please, Mr. Spielberg, they want your autograph, and they want your autograph. And the kids were looking at me, and I thought, how can I disappoint them? So I signed it in very small letters from the guy who looks like, and in big letters, Steven Spielberg.
Actually, if you'd written sloppy handwriting Simon Helberg, then she probably would have thought it was Steven Spielberg anyway. So you could have probably gotten away with writing your own name, but yeah.
And then I met walking on the beach in Malibu. There was Spielberg sitting on the beach, and I went over to him, and we talked a little bit, and I told him how I get mistaken for him all the time. I said, maybe I'll shave my beard off. And then he looked at me and said, well, maybe I'll shave my beard off. I said, fuck you, Steven Spielberg. Don't you dare shave your beard off, you know. I don't need people chasing me. And we laughed and shook hands, and that was the last of that. But
no, that's actually, I'm wondering if anybody had ever come to Steven Spielberg claiming they were you. You know, that he was you.
You know what? He said that. That's what he said. Well, I've had a few, you know, and
that's not, but also didn't you?
I played Spielberg in
a blockbuster movie.
They would always hire me as the director. But in the episode of Sybil, I actually played Spielberg.
No, but didn't you also play him in some movie that was based on a video game? It was like a
Yeah, Mortal Kombat.
That's it. Yeah.
Again, I looked like him, but they never referred to me as Spielberg. I was just the director, you know, who happened to look just like Spielberg.
Now we have just a few more minutes with the very funny, the very Hamish Sandy Helberg. So I got to squeeze in all these other questions about all these other people that you know. For example, you had a role in The Jazz Singer, not the Al Jolson original, but the Neil Diamond one.
Right.
Any Neil Diamond stories or any stories about that crazy film?
You know, it was actually what it was you know, the way the business works. The director of The Jazz Singer, I met him. He directed a movie called Sheila Levine is Dead and Living in New York.
Yeah, I remember the book. I never saw the movie.
Right, it was based on the book, and I worked on that movie. He and I hit it off, you know, two Jews, and then he was doing, I went in to read for another movie he was doing years later, and there really wasn't anything in there for me, and he didn't have a casting director. My wife was a casting director. So I went home and I told him, I said, you know, my wife can help you. She's a casting director. He called her, and she worked with him for a couple days. She didn't charge him, found the rest of the actors, and then when he had The Jazz Singer, he called her. He didn't forget, and she cast The Jazz Singer. And so they were shooting some of it in New York. So in order for me to get to go to New York on the production budget, he gave me a small part. This way I flew first class. Well, they paid for my food, and I made a few bucks. But Neil was okay. What was interesting, the connection with Neil was he was scared to death to act, but the one who convinced him was Barbra Streisand.
Oh.
And she told him to be the boss. I had worked with Barbra Streisand in A Star is Born.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nobody knows that, although some people, again, someone I knew was casting the movie, and it was just me, Barbra Streisand, and Paul Mazursky.
Whoa.
The scene. The director gave me the directions, where to come in, where to come out. Barbra Streisand kept giving me different direction. And I was caught in the middle, again, like with Lorne Michaels. She and the director were not talking. They argued through me. He would say, I want him to come in from here. She says, no, I want him to come in from there. I want him to leave here. No, I want him to come in there. So they wound up cutting it because there was no continuity.
Yeah, right.
Sort of appear out of nowhere. Now someone told me that they saw the movie on DVD and my scene is still in there. So, yeah, I got bullied around all day by Barbra Streisand. I didn't mind. She was recording live Evergreen. I called my wife, and we were in this huge theater, just the two of us and the crew. And, again, it was a highlight of my life to sit and listen to Barbra Streisand sing for an hour to just the two of us.
And also, Streisand was mad, but she was mad at the director, not you. You were basically a conduit.
Right. Like I said, I was the schmuck in the middle who they would push around, you know.
Now, speaking of people who are perceived to be schmucks, there's a lead-in. How how was it working on the film, the 1981 movie Modern Problems, which starred Chevy Chase? Success had already gone to his head. Was he a dick, or was he okay?
It was, I knew Chevy, again, because of Saturday Night Live, and he had come to see the Groundlings. The whole thing was a mishigas. I mean, they hired me. I hadn't auditioned. There wasn't even really a role. They just let me totally improvise, do whatever I wanted to do, and I came up with a character. Chevy is Chevy. I'm not
Okay.
Yeah, and this was like, he made a lot of money on this movie, even though it wasn't a hit, but he was already a cocky movie star. But look, every job I just relish, and
You're being diplomatic for the first time in an hour here. So, but he never treated you badly, or did you see him misbehave?
No, he didn't. He didn't misbehave. He just, was arrogant. But again, the director was an old friend of his, and this was the only movie that the director did, and he only got to do it because Chevy signed on as the lead. And there were drugs involved and stuff like that. And but I sat in my dressing room and ate a salami sandwich and kept away from that stuff.
Now, you also had a role in one of the greatest comedies of modern times.
Oh, no.
What? Which do you think I'm talking? Well, no, I'm not going to make an up the creek joke. That's
okay.
Although that's apparently better than most people think that it tends to. Both Siskel and Ebert gave that movie a thumbs up, by the way.
Yeah, they did, and I think it was Ebert mentioned that, he thought the cast was good. He thought I was like a Bill Murray type.
Yeah.
I was thrilled, because everyone else... Look, we knew when we were making it this was not going to be a classic, but I always got wound up in the movies that were ripping off the successful movies.
Fair enough, but the movie I was talking about, and a movie that has become a classic, is This Is Spinal Tap.
Yes, yeah.
Come on, that is a great comedy. Do you have any stories, any anecdotes of working with Michael McKean and Christopher Guest and Rob Reiner?
Well, again, I have to thank the Groundlings. Rob Reiner and the casting director came to see the Groundlings, and a few days later I get a call, and Rob Reiner wants to meet me, and I come in and I met with him and the guys, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, Chris Guest. And they just talked, again, and that time there was no script. So he tells me the part he wants me to play was this guy, I think his character's name was Artie. He told me then, he said, we were going to have Paul Schaefer do it, but he's unavailable, and so we're going to have you do it. I thought, that's great. So I show up to work, and Rob pulls me aside, and he said, Paul Schaefer called us. He's going to do that part after all. And so I wound up with this much smaller part, but I was already there. And again, it was improvised, no script, and but it would have been nice if I had gotten if I got to do the
bigger role.
Part.
But you're in a movie that is, historically maybe remembered as the best film you ever did, arguably.
Yeah, that I was almost in. The best film I was almost in.
Well, you were just like a small role. You were in it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the DVD. The stuff that I had that they cut was hysterical, but if I ever get my own show, I can use it for that. I have close friends who are in the rock and roll business, and that is their favorite movie, and they watch it over. They're thrilled that I'm in it, and these guys go out and play stadiums with 100,000 people, but they're impressed I did a couple days on Spinal Tap.
Well, I'm impressed too, I have to say. And before I let you go, one more movie, a movie that people probably don't remember, but done by a very major director, James L. Brooks, called I'll Do Anything. And the reason I ask is when I look at the cast of this film, every person is either neurotic or eccentric. You had Nick Nolte, Albert Brooks, Julie Kavner, Anne Heche. What,
right.
Was that a chaos festival when the cameras weren't rolling?
Oh, again, it was one of those things. They called me in, and he sat and talked with me. He didn't have me read anything. And there were only 2 jobs that were like this. He looked at me and said, would you like to be in this movie? I said, yeah. So what people, I don't think, realize is that movie was a musical. It was originally a musical. Prince did the music, and so there were dozens of other actors that were not, like myself, that were not seen in the movie because the studio did not like the musical stuff. And so they cut all these singers and dancers out, and I was a theater critic. And, and Jim let me improvise my my comments, and then they cut out the whole musical stuff. Like I said, Prince did original songs for it. The rap party for that was unbelievable. Prince got up and did an hour show, and Albert Brooks got up and did material. But then, and then he put me under contract, Jim Brooks, for a while.
Ooh.
And, nothing came around. But that's how it happens, You get cut, and...
So are you, basically we're wrapping up here with Sandy Helberg, are you, aside from still doing your one-person show, are you retired, or do you never really retire? What do you do? What do you do with yourself?
No, you don't retire. I mean, the thing about being an actor is when they need a guy in his 60s, there are people in their 60s who want to work. But, having a baby here keeps me occupied, and I write, and I love to go to improvisational classes. For me, that's a workout. And so, I keep myself busy.
Then I do have to ask you, you sit, you write, are you writing screenplays? Are you writing sitcom stuff?
My wife and I, we wrote TV. We wrote for Golden Girls and what is the show I forgot? The one with the Balky and...
Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, we wrote Perfect Strangers, and we wrote Dear John. So we were writing at that time a lot of half-hour stuff. And, the business is very fickle. As you get older, there's less and less work.
Right, you're 100 years old compared to the people coming out of Harvard who get hired to do Simpsons. No, it's true. It's true.
No, right. All the half-hour guys now are Ivy League guys from Harvard and Yale and Princeton. And, I mean, who would think that you'd go to Yale or Harvard to be a comedy writer?
I came out of Solomon Schechter Junior High School. Nothing. I don't know.
Not a thing. No one cared. No one listened. No one looked at you.
But who's reading the stuff that you and your wife are writing? What's it for?
There are independent producers. We shot a thing called a sizzle reel for a show that we wanted to do, and I directed it, and my wife and I wrote it, and we put up our own money, and we had a cast, and it's about 5 minutes long. That's about all we could afford.
Right.
But so you send it around. The thing is, 50 people can look at it. You only need one person to say yes.
Of course. And then it doesn't even have to be for TV, quote unquote, anymore. It could be for Netflix.
There's so many other outlets.
Yeah. So how's that?
It was out there. There were 3 stations. That was it. And so everybody was trying to get the same parts and get on the same shows. Like I said, that's it. There were 3 networks, and there was one show I did, a pilot. It got picked up for a series. It was on NBC, and we were so excited, and they decided to air the pilot on a Saturday night opposite Mary Tyler Moore. And my wife and I are getting in a cab from our apartment to go to New York, and I'm just thrilled. I was able to get a loan on a house based on the article in Variety saying that I was in a series now, and not so. They knew I was going to have an income, and he said, I'll give you the loan under one condition. I said, what? He said, you get me tickets to see your show.
All right. Hey.
And so they aired it opposite Mary Tyler Moore. The ratings were bad. I'm in the cab. I look at Variety. They canceled our show before we even started because the ratings were not good for an unknown show, unadvertised, and they canceled the show, and we never got any further. And I'm yelling, stop the cab, I have to cancel a loan I can't pay for. Right. But, so, like I said, things like that happen, and
Well, I am rooting for you. I think everybody who has heard you on this interview is rooting for Sandy Helberg to get that sizzle reel sizzling and on fire and work on some other projects. And maybe it would be nice if you could bring your one-man show out of the West Coast a little bit. Maybe bring it to Colorado or New York or...
I would love to.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with Sandy Helberg. It just remains for me to say that again. It has absolutely been lovely. I wish you much more mazel, more health, and great stuff with your quote-unquote child, your 2-year-old. May he grow up to be healthy and happy and successful, just like his papa, just like his
uncle.
Yeah, all of that. And shalom to you.
Shalom. Have a gitten Woch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
One and only Sandy Helberg there on Dave's Gone By on this Saturday, August 18th, 2018. Got to thank him so much for spending the time with us in the Daverhood. Go find those Mel Brooks films. And also, big thank you to Steve Joyner for setting up that interview and making this happen. And what's funny is I was talking to Steve a week or two ago, and he mentioned that he had never seen This Is Spinal Tap. He'd never seen that movie, the Rob Reiner film that Sandy Helberg had a small role in that was, he was supposed to be in the Paul Schaefer role, went to a smaller role. But, of course, it's Christopher Guest, it's Michael McKean. It's one of the great comedies of all time. So, Steve, I hope by now you have watched at least once This Is Spinal Tap and realized why it's so great. But anyway, it's great being here with you live on this Saturday, August 18th, for our 663rd episode. We've been calling it HELRIDE for Sandy Helberg. Are we done with the show? I know it's a 11:45 already here, Mountain Time in Greeley, Colorado. But no, my friends, we have more to do. Much more to do. We've got a Saturday segue of songs in the news. We've also got our Dave's Big Dick Shinary segment, where I'll be talking somehow about the word reef. My wife, poked her finger in the book at random, came up with that word, and now I've got to come up with something about that word. I'm not sure what, but we'll find out. Reef coming up. Also, we'll talk about the Friends of the Daverhood. But before then, as promised, one of the things that we've been doing for the past few weeks now is the Colorado Limerick of the Damned. And this is... it just came to me one day, a naughty little limerick about some town in Colorado, and then another one came into my head. And before long, and not too long at all, I was writing poem after poem, making fun of, in a very obscene sort of a way, all these different towns and cities in Colorado and the people in them. So we've done a lot of the A's, like Aurora and Arvada, and we've been doing the B's, like Bethune and Boulder. Places like that. Well, now we are up to our next place. It's Bonanza. There's actually a place in Colorado called Bonanza, Colorado. I'll tell you a little bit about it. It was a silver and ore mining town 100 and something years ago in central western Colorado. The whole place is about half of a square mile long. So literally, as of the 2000 census, there were 16 people in it living in this half a square mile. And what happened, basically, it was ore prospectors. Town went boom, probably for a year or two, then went bust, and it's still there. And there's like 1 or 2 buildings on it, and that's all of Bonanza, Colorado. But we're going to return it to its former glory. We're going to bring it just a moment of fame with a poem, with a naughty poem for Bonanza, Colorado. Get the kiddies out of the room, unless they're really hip, cool kiddies, because there may be language involved, I'm not sure. It's a Colorado limerick of the damned.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme. And likewise, verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain, Colorado, 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 Colorado,
Oh, yeah. So today's Colorado limerick of the Damned has to do with a town, tiny little town, of Bonanza. A husky young man from Bonanza had muscles just like Tony Danza, but half of his face is being replaced because he's got malignant skin cancer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. Wasn't dirty or anything. You could have had the kids in there. They just would have been scarred for life. But we do that every week here on Dave's Gone By in the one and only Greeley Daverhood with me, Dave Lefkowitz. Remember to find out more about the program, go to davesgoneby.com. Tell your friends and family and enemies to like us and follow us on Facebook at Radio Dave Lefkowitz, or even if you are already liking and following us, remember that you can change that button on Facebook to say see first. And all that means is, hey, when we go live on the air, when I post something, and I don't waste your time all week posting a zillion things. I post maybe a couple times a week and then live on Saturdays. If you want to be sure to be there and be reminded that we're here Saturdays at 11 Eastern or 9 a.m. Mountain Time, that's the way to do it. Just click us and show see us first, so that you don't miss great guests like Sandy Helberg or some of the other guests that we've had recently in the Daverhood, like Karen Finley and like performance artist Penny Arcade and folks like that. I mean, we were happy and proud, I should say, to say when Charlotte Ray died a week or two ago that she had been in the Daverhood 3 weeks before that. These are the friends of the Daverhood. And what's nice is we consider them part of our family here, and we like to let you know what they're up to in the times since they've been on the show. It might have been 5 or 10 years ago. They were in a movie. They were on a TV show. They were doing something on Broadway. Now they're doing something else. We want to let you know what they're up to. Yes, the friends of the Daverhood here on this Saturday, August 18th. So, tonight, Saturday, Alice Ripley, our Tony-winning friend, is doing a cabaret show. It's called Ripley Prescription. It's at the Green Room on the Green Room 42, which is on 42nd by 10th Avenue. So go see Alice Ripley, of course. And then, oh my gosh, it's already time for an Austin Pendleton alert. Not sure what that has to do with Austin Pendleton. Let's try this. Yeah, okay, that one I'm down with. An Austin Pendleton alert. We do these now because Austin Pendleton is a talented actor and director, and every week, it seems, he's doing something else. It's not like he's in one Broadway show that's running for a year. It's like this week he's directing this, next week he's appearing in that. And so every week we have an Austin Pendleton alert. And now, through tomorrow, he is directing and starring as Henry VI in War of the Roses. That is at the Bank Street Theater downtown. And simultaneously, so it's a double Austin Pendleton alert, he is directing a play called The Saintliness of Marjorie Kemp at the Duke Theater on 42nd Street. So two different shows, like 3 blocks away from each other. The other one's at Bank Street downtown, forgive me. But anyway, congrats to Austin Pendleton for being so prolific and busy. Want to remind you that the National Yiddish Theater's Fiddler on the Roof, it's gotten amazing reviews. They're actually looking at potentially bringing this to Broadway because it's Fiddler on the Roof in Yiddish. It's gotten marvelous reviews. It's directed by the great Joel Grey from of Cabaret fame, the musical Cabaret. And we mention that because the musical director, the conductor, is Zalman Mlotek, our friend of the Daverhood, and of course Fiddler on the Roof was co-written. The lyrics are by the great Sheldon Harnick, who was a friend of the Daverhood. Also a friend of the Daverhood and connected in another way to Fiddler on the Roof is actor Alan Lewis Rickman. He's doing his show Tevye Served Raw, which just got extended. It's playing at the Playroom on West 46th Street, and it's now through early October. So if you haven't had a chance to see Tevye Served Raw, you've got another month or two to go catch that. Also, now through the end of October, they keep extending a musical called Desperate Measures. The York Theater is doing it. It's got the music is by our friend David Friedman, and the show won the 2018 Drama Desk Award. And now, on Broadway, we mentioned a lot of Broadway stuff. For example, The Band's Visit has a score by our friend David Yazbek. Come From Away is written by two people who were on our Tony show, Irene Sankoff and David Hine. School of Rock has lyrics by Glenn Slater, and remember, now that has announced a closing date. You still have a bunch of weeks to see it, but School of Rock is not in an open run anymore, so make tracks. It's actually a very, very fun show. LaChanze, the actress, is one of the Donnas in Summer, the musical. This is a show that is maybe proving critic-proof, because the critics didn't really want anything to do with it, but the audiences are coming for Summer, the Donna Summer musical, that features our friend LaChanze. And then Daniel Breaker, here's a show that the critics they wanted everything to do with. Daniel Breaker is in Hamilton, playing Aaron Burr, and that is at the Richard Rogers Theater. Moving on to cabaret, or nightclub life, it's Jim Caruso's Cast Party every Monday night at Birdland, letting you know that if you want to find out more about New York nightlife, that Evan Seplow is the editor of a terrific website called StageBuddy.com. If you want to just move away from the theater and listen to pure comedy, Dr. Demento is still doing new Dr. Demento shows online only at drdemento.com. And then, what else can I tell you? Reminding you that Eva Heinemann hosts High Drama, the theater review show on Manhattan Cable TV. Manhattan Cable is also where you can watch Charlie Gross and Leslie Hoban Blake doing their theater review show, too, on the aisle. Bob Cudmore doing podcasts of upstate New York history at bobcudmore.com. Phil Mushnick writing about sports on TV for the New York Post. And who else? Who else can I mention? Susan Haskins is still hosting Theater Talk on CUNY TV on Channel 13 in New York and WLIW Channel 21 on Long Island. So, that show's got to be on for about 30-something years now. She co-created it with Michael Riedel. He's now on, big-time WOR radio. She's still doing Theater Talk, so catch that. And finally, I want to let you know that one of our upcoming guests, Stevie GB, the comedian, he will be playing at Theater 3 in Port Jefferson on August 25th. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Yes, it is exactly high noon here on Dave's Gone By in the Daverhood. Dave Lefkowitz here with our 663rd episode, the HELRIDE episode. We've got two more things to do. We've got our Saturday segue of songs in the news. But before we get to that, let's do Dave's Big Dictionary. Extra, tell all about it. It's Dave's Big Dictionary. Here it is, the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, that earlier in the show, my wife, my darling and adorable wife, and I say that especially because she just tuned in, my lovely and fantastic and sexy and amazing and brilliant wife, Joyce, she's giving me all these thumbs up now. What else can I say about her? My genius, fantastic, unbelievable, loving, kind, tremendous, revivifying, glorious wife, Joyce. Oh wow, yes, my loving, intensely fantastic, I said that, because she's always wanting me to think of these compliments for her, and I'm always saying the same ones, so now I'm on the spot. Let me see if I can find other words in this dictionary. My tender wife, no, she's not a tramp. I'm not going to put that one up there. Unbiased, my vapor-locking wife, for those of you who like Frank Zappa. Yodeling, my yodeling wife, Joyce. Joyce says right back at you. Maybe I'll get a foreign word for her. No, I don't know what that is. And I can't also read these words because it's... my journal in time wife. Well, she used to journal. She used to do that. Let's see. My dope wife, in like a good sort of urban way. There's a good word for you. My cowbird? What? No, let's not go there. Caravansary wife. Is that a good thing? What is caravansary? I love dictionaries, I do. Caravansary means an inn in eastern countries where caravan rest for the night. Well, she is my caravan in the night where I rest my weary head, and she protects me and she cares for me. So she is my caravansary of a wife. I know, I'm pushing there. I'm stretching quite a bit. Okay, I think we've got it. I think we've... golden, that's the last one. My golden wife, Joyce, who picked a very different word for Dave's Big Dictionary this Saturday. The word she picked is reef. R-E-E-F, reef, and her fingers specifically landed on the third definition in the dictionary, which means it's a ridge of rocks, sand, or coral at or near the surface of the water. So that's what technically, literally, a reef is. You've heard of coral reefs and the barrier reef, which has apparently, it's parallel to the water, and there's like a lagoon before everything else. Reef. She did, thank goodness she mentioned this, because I didn't know where to go with this. She did say that this week we watched a really good adaptation of the Agatha Christie novel, And Then There Were None. Now, I've never read any Agatha Christie before. I think I tried reading one of her plays many years ago, but I've never read any of her classic books that millions of bazillions of people have read. So I thought, we started watching, there was the Kenneth Branagh movie of Murder on the Orient Express, right? And we used to watch the Hercule Poirot episodes. Those were fun. My wife liked the Miss Marples. So we get this movie out, and it's okay. It looks beautiful. Wasn't really into the Orient Express movie, but it made me want to go and read the book and see how different it was and what her writing style was like, because we also watched a short documentary about Agatha Christie, and that really whetted my appetite to say, I don't want to ghettoize her as just a crummy mystery writer for a genre I don't care about. Let me see what she is as just a writer overall. And I have to say, Orient Express isn't really doing it for me. It's not. The movie didn't do it for me. The book isn't. But I am going to want to read after this, And Then There Were None. My wife actually got the book out when she was flying around going to her conference, and she needed a book to read. She was in the airport and grabbed And Then There Were None. And so we get this short miniseries movie. It's like 3 one-hour installments that was done about 3 years ago. And the one thing that shocked me about that, and I will get to the word reef, I promise you, is just how incredibly grim and dark it was. Because the Poirot episodes, there's a murder. They're murder mysteries, somebody dies, boom. And my wife absolutely loves, oh my gosh, how am I blanking on this Murder, She Wrote, with Angela Lansbury. She watches it, she can watch the same episodes over and over. It calms her going to sleep. She loves Angela Lansbury. And these are, somebody dies. It takes about half a minute. And the whole rest of the show is her poking around, asking questions. She's got the kind of dumb sheriff helping out. And it's quaint. It's picaresque. There's a murderer. Usually only one person gets murdered. It's like Columbo, where once you get through that first 20 minutes of something horrible happening, then the whole rest of the show is, well, sir, I'm looking for this, and, one more thing, sir. And that's the whole rest of the thing until he actually solves the crime. So it's pleasant. It's, I don't know if I want to say charming, but it's lighthearted and gentle once the death happens, right? Unlike Midsummer Murders that we used to watch, is another English series, and there... the detective is supposed to be so good and so bright and so experienced and wonderful. And yet it takes about 4 deaths for him to finally figure out who the murderer is. And, they really want to get a different detective in there who might be able to solve it after the first. But instead, no, this guy dies and they're asking and they're poking around and they're looking at clues. And then somebody else gets killed and somebody else gets... Half the cast is dead by the end of the episode when he finally goes, by process of elimination, well, the person left standing is probably the murderer. Okay, but And Then There Were None is something different entirely. I was not expecting this at all. And the idea of the book is 10 Little Indians. It's a poem that is written, Piece of Doggerel, I don't know if it's the original or Christie wrote the poem to go with the book, but all these people, different stations in life, different types of people, are invited to this isolated, tiny little island by a rich person. They're wined and dined, but their host never shows up, and it turns out that they're all there to be killed one by one. But the other side of it is that they all deserve it. Each of them has murdered and kind of gotten away with it beforehand. And so the whole 3-hour piece is who's going to get killed next. It's almost like the precursor of the dead teenager movies in the 1980s, except they're actual innocents generally being slaughtered. Here, these are people, you feel for them and you kind of root for some of them, but they're all going to get it, one after the other in different, clever ways. And it does not end happily. You could say it kind of ends morally, in a way, but I was just really, really shocked. It's a depressing piece of work. And, you figure, Agatha Christie, she writes these charming mysteries that you just kind of flip through on a rainy night, and then you have that satisfaction at the end of, Poirot has discovered the murderer, everything's fine. Here's like, nothing's fine. This is Ingmar Bergman has nothing. And then there were none. Nothing at all. It's just really, really amazingly how dark. It's even beyond creepy. It's just relentlessly sad and unfortunate and grim and ugly. And Christie was nothing like that. She was a sweet mom and grandmom, and she was like or an auntie, I should say. She was. I don't know where it comes from. Where do writers get this thing that is nothing like what they are in real life? Now, the reason that this ties finally to the word reef in Dave's Big Dictionary is just that one of the main characters, they've got the beautiful, youngish, she's a maid, she's hired as a secretary there, but she had been hired as a nanny and maidservant and helper to help watch a kid by this family. But she wants to marry this rich, good-looking guy, but he wouldn't be the heir. This kid is going to be the heir. So she's entrusted to watch this kid. The kid goes for a swim far out on the pier, and there she is on the reef, and she says, go have a nice swim. You can do it. You're strong. And it's a little wimpy kid with glasses like me. He's going to go out there 100 feet and is going to start drowning, which is what happens to the kid. So she rushes off to save him. Or does she? But point is, one of the main themes of the movie, and she's sort of the star. That character lasts longer than some of the others. So she's constantly going back to, in her mind, the reef, the place where she stays, to kind of watch over the boy who's running off to the ocean to do a little swimming and then drowning. So, she goes to that reef, and you see the beautiful water and the ocean, but it's also really tragic and sad. And her idea of what would happen in her life if, by some lucky happenstance, the poor kid drowns. She gets everything, and she gets the guy she wants, she gets a great life that is way above her station. She would move into a whole different social class and have an estate to live on. She doesn't count on, when a family member dies, that tends to make other members of the family upset. So anyway, that the reef was there, and it's this recurring theme of there's no place to go. They can't get off the island, so they're constantly going out to the shore, out to the sand, out to the reef, where there normally would be peace. They were able to get out of that haunted death trap of a house, and yet even there's no relief. The murder, the killing, the guilt, and the final admitting of some of those people that, I guess I kind of was guilty of beating that gay guy to death, as one policeman finally confesses to before he dies. It's check it out. It's and then there were none. It's pleasant, light evening viewing on your TVs. But what else about Reef? Because I was never much of a beach person. And the kind of beach and the kind of place that I like most of all is not so much sand. I think it is more meaningful to me. It's more spiritual for me when I go to a place that has rocks and, jagged sort of those English beaches places where they have reefs and they're safe. you're going to be 5,000 feet in the air looking down on water and tempted to jump. You're just walking over crags and rocks and getting settled and sitting there and looking out on what is not, let's say, Pacific Ocean type water, but more roiling, grimmer, grayer, almost rainy Atlantic Ocean water. That may be the most peaceful place for me. It may be the most, the one thing that I would miss most if I never, ever got back to New York ever again. I stayed in Colorado where the mountains are amazing, but you don't get much in the way of water. There's something about hitting not only a beach, but a beach with rocks and there's different planes and levels, and then looking out on water that isn't quite calm is something meaningful to me. So that's true. The only other thing that reefs can mean for me at all is that when I was a kid, my dad was very into fish tanks. And he had about 8 different fish tanks all over the house, first in our apartment in Brooklyn, and then we ended up keeping them in the basement in our Long Island house, basically because invariably one of the fish tanks would spring a leak. A mop would knock into it and gash something, or just sometimes the glue on the sides gets kind of old. And then you don't want it leaking all over the living room carpet. If it leaks on the cement floor of the basement, who cares so much? But I just remember the creativity of owning a fish tank. There wasn't much. You're watching, fish, they're pretty. They go back, they go forth. They go back, they go forth. They go up for food, bum, bum, bum. They come down, they go up for more food, bum, bum, bum. And then they fall on their backs when they're dead. Somehow this is exciting stuff for people who, and I liked it. I enjoyed watching fish here and there. We had saltwater tanks, we had freshwater tanks, but the real creativity was before you put all the fish in, you had the gravel, you were laying down different colored gravel, making it pretty. You have the little Ferris wheel type thing. You'd have, and you make a reef in some weird way. There would be, the gravel wouldn't necessarily be flat in all places. There'd be interesting. So you push up the gravel in one place, and then there'd be a rock and a stone, and so it would make almost as if there's kind of a water scene or a beach scene going on. And that was kind of fun for me. It was not fun 2 weeks later, and 3 weeks after that, and 3 weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, where you had to take the siphon and start pushing it into the gravel and start the siphon going and get out the schmutzy water and then put in the fresh water and siphon. And when you had more than a 10-gallon tank, it really is a big pain in the ass. You got a bucket full of bad water that's got to go in the toilet. Then you have to put in the new water very slowly so they acclimate. I mean, everything takes work. I get that. But at a certain point, I just want to watch fish swim around. And I was always most grateful for the plecosomuses, the pleco cats. They're a certain kind of catfish, because they were the suckers. They were the bottom feeders. Those are the ones who would at least help keep algae and schmutz off the glass and off the coral on the gravel on the bottom. So at least you didn't have that much work, because the plecosomus was eating the yuck. I have to clean that much shit because the plecosomus ate it. And he's resting gently on the reef. Plecosomuses, they made use of those hills and dales and valleys in the fish tank. All the other fish, they're just back and forth. And if they were on the bottom, that was not good. It meant, for some reason, they were so heavy, not only were they dead, but they didn't rise to the top when they were dead. They're just sitting there. But plecos were like, ooh, that other fish just took a big dump. Num, 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 chum, chum, chum. Oh, there's some algae from a week ago. That's num, num, nums. So those are my fish tank thoughts. When I think of the word reef, that's about it. Not a lot comes to my mind in terms of that word. But that concludes this week's edition of this topic, Dave's Big Dictionary. Yes, if you're thinking, hey, why are we late as it were, because Dave's Gone By airs every Saturday from 9 until noon, or thereabouts, here on the Facebookio program of the stream. Well, we say thereabouts, because we go past noon a lot of the time, as we have now. It's past 12:15, or 2:15 New York time, but no, we still have more show for you, more stuff to do. One more segment, and it's a segment we've been doing for years. We've had to amend it a little bit, just because of Facebook's rules and copyright rules. I love to play music. I'm a friggin' DJ. It's part of what I'm trained and love to do. But if I play too much of a copyrighted song on here, the Facebook stream goes down. I get a note from Facebook as you can't keep the video because some other person has copyright on this, and it makes trouble on YouTube too. So I have to be very, very short and precise in what I play now when I do play music, which is why I talk even more than I used to on this show. But it's not bad, and I'm still trying to do a Saturday segue. And this is where I play songs that have something to do in some way with something going on in the news and current events in the world at large. Could be the song title, could be the person doing the song, could be the theme of the song overall. It's your job, you, my lovely listeners at home and in your offices and elsewhere, and in prisons, of course, to figure out, this song, why is Dave playing it? What does it have to do with something that's been going on? So, let's try this one to begin with.
Now everybody, have you heard? If you're in the game, well, then the stroke's the word.
Does that ring any nostalgic bells for you 1980s people? That is from a collection called, like, oh my god, the 80s pop culture box, and it's Billy Squier. Anybody remember him at all? But Billy Squier there doing a song called The Stroke. Now, this has nothing to do with what we were talking about back in Greeley Crimes and Old Times, where somebody was getting Daily Stroke magazine, all about worrying about neurological strokes. This is a little different, and a little different spelling. I'm a little tricky on this one. This has to do with Stroke, a.k.a. FBI agent Peter Stroke, who was fired this past week for leading the... well, here's the deal. This is the guy who was at first leading the Bureau's investigation into Russian election meddling, right? And the problem was, this is also the guy who was personally, on his own Twitter account, tweeting very anti-Donald Trump text messages or tweets. So here's this guy who's investigating potential Russian collusion with the president, and we know he hates the president. So, of course, Fox News and all the Republicans, with some reason, are saying, conflict of interest, hello? Shouldn't he recuse himself? Should somebody else be handling this? And finally, and they brought him up in Congress, and he went through not a trial, but hearings, where he was mocked and vilified by most. And, I mean, he did pretty well for himself, but still the question lingered. How can you be one way? And you know, the answer is we all do, right? The answer is you can work for a boss that you despise and still get your job done. I've done that. I've done that in many jobs that I've worked. Where I dreaded coming in, or I was thrilled when the boss was away for a week, and I work, I love the job, I love the actual activity of the work, and even though I just, if I have a run-in with a boss, or I get belittled or demeaned, it wouldn't, I would do my work with hatred, but I'd still get her done. Right? So I'm sure Peter Stroke did the same thing, but the optics were bad. And it didn't help that he was also the guy looking into the Hillary Clinton private email server situation back then. So if he was wildly pro-Hillary and anti-Trump, it was time for the guy to go, even though the folks at the FBI recommended that he just be suspended for a bit. But no, the head of the FBI said, no, it's too toxic. You're fired. Goodbye. Don't know if he'll be doing any... I think he, literally, this is not a joke, he's doing a fund me to hire lawyers to fight this. So that could get really interesting. I think he was raised almost $250,000 at this point. I have to say, as much as I tend to root for people who are going against the Republicans and the administration, Peter Stroke's, I will not miss his smirking face. There was something really dislikable about him, and there still is. So hopefully the FBI will move on from his term and tenure there. But that is why we played Billy Squier doing The Stroke from Oh My God, the 80s compilation. So now you kind of get the idea of how this segment works, called Saturday Segue in the News. Let's get to our next song. Why would we be playing this? I'm going to let it play a little bit more in quiet so that Facebook doesn't kill us. I'll give you a hint. It is a John Lennon song. I think it's from sometime in New York City.
Has got me on the run.
If you heard that title, that is the song Cold Turkey, not being performed by John Lennon, but speaking of Jewish people, Lenny Kravitz there with the John Lennon song Cold Turkey. Why would we play Cold Turkey? Does it have anything to do with Mrs. Bokbagok? No. No, I guess it isn't Mrs. Bokbagok. Why is Turkey in the news? Well, the Turkish economy has been growing colder by the minute. Back on Monday, it was 7 lira to the dollar and falling. And so Turkey's in terrible economic trouble. Rising interest rates are making it hard for Turkey to pay back all the loans that it's gotten. Also, they have a dictator in power, Erdogan. He told Turkish banks not to raise interest rates, which they didn't, but that hurt consumer confidence or investor confidence from other countries who would have invested in Turkey. And Erdogan made his son-in-law, as dictators tend to do, he made his son-in-law the finance minister. So Erdogan's been watching the value of the lira slide for the past 2 weeks. It could cause a really big recession there. It's affecting emerging markets around the world, also hurting the euro. It hurt the Dow early in the week, but the Dow came roaring back. And also, unless I'm mistaken, I think Turkey might be getting something of a bailout from Qatar, of all places. One of these Arab countries that's swimming and drowning in oil is going to help Turkey and give them a big financial boost and maybe keep them off the rails for a bit, which kind of sucks because we would love to see Erdogan overthrown and pushed out of office and something different happen there with a more Western society. But anyway, that's why Cold Turkey has got some people in the economy on the run. So now, okay, let's get on to our next Saturday Segue song. And please don't tell this woman to scat.
They call it wacky dust. It's from a hot cornet. It gives your feet a feeling so breezy, and oh, it's so easy to get. They call it wacky dust. It brings a dancing jazz.
Little bit of the one, the only Ella Fitzgerald there with a song. She's got the band by Chick Webb backing her. Song called Wacky Dust. Wacky Dust from Ella Fitzgerald. Wacky Dust. Why would I play that this week on our Saturday Segue? Well, wacky is just one of the words that Donald Trump used to describe his former employee, Omarosa Manigault. She, of course, has been bashing him in interviews. She got fired, and as payback, well, turns out she's wired for sound, ladies and gentlemen. Seems like every single minute that she spent in and around the halls of the White House, she was recording. In fact, news came today that not only does she have audio recordings, she's got some video. So she's got a whole multimedia thing. She's going to be doing a PowerPoint, ladies and gentlemen, with 3D and holograms of the president and John Kelly and everybody else in the White House. But boy, oh boy, things went sour there. And she's just been on every news network saying just how terrible Donald Trump is and how John Kelly's actually running the White House, all because Kelly fired her, to her mind, without good cause. And now one of the things that she floated was, even though she hasn't heard him, Trump, directly say the N-word or other racist things, other people have, and there are people in the Oval Office and around there who are trying to spin that, and we're trying to say, well, how do we deal with this if this comes out, that Donald Trump said this bad word about this race, etc. For his part, Trump called her wacky, that's why we play wacky dust, and a lowlife, his word, and, quote, vicious but not smart. And, of course, he's also got his lawyers running around trying to shut her the hell up and get a hold of those tapes because she apparently signed a non-disclosure agreement when dealing with him. Now, I don't know if this is with him as president and with the White House and with John Kelly, or when she was doing Apprentice with him, and she signed an NDA there about his behavior. I don't know. All I know is it just sucks that when the Democratic Party does get someone that they can hang their hat on and go, look, this person has some proof and some evidence that our president is unstable, that he's crazy, that he's racist, that he's this. And you're not getting the cream of the crop in terms of people. You're getting, like that Wolf guy who wrote the book that apparently was exaggerated, and now you've got, of all people, Omarosa, whom everybody saw in reality TV, was backstabbing and volatile and strange and not necessarily trustworthy. So, can we please get someone feeding stuff to the Democratic Party that will unseat Trump in 2020, that will give us back, at the very least, the House of Representatives later in this year, who is Mr. Rogers, someone who is unimpeachable, someone whom you don't look at and go, oh no, not them again. If only we could find that. Well, anyway, by the way, it's me again, Dave Lefkowitz. It's 12:30 in the afternoon Mountain Time, and we're doing our Saturday segue of songs in the news related to things that happened in news and the world at large this past week. From Ella, we now move to Elton.
I've seen the bridge, and the bridge is long, and they build it high, and they build it strong, strong enough to hold the weight of time, long enough to leave some of us behind.
Well, we're fading Elton away there before Facebook blocks us, but yes, do you cross the bridge, or do you fade away? The Bridge, a song by Elton John from his underrated album, The Captain and the Kid. The Bridge. Bad news about a bridge. This is not a well-built bridge, apparently. A 50-year-old bridge in Genoa, which links Italy with France. It's in Italy, collapsed on Monday, and at last count, or early in the week, it had killed more than 35 people. I haven't checked if it's killed closer to 50. More than 20 vehicles were involved in the collapse. The bridge collapse, and this is amazing. I mean, it's just, hopefully these things don't come in threes like sneezes. But the bridge collapse came 8 days after another major accident on an Italian highway near Bologna. A tanker truck carrying a highly flammable gas exploded after rear-ending a stopped truck on the road and getting hit from behind itself. The accident killed one person, injured dozens, and blew apart a section of a raised 8-lane highway. So I've been to Rome. I know what Italian drivers are like. So, yeah, I get it. And just, some sad news about that bridge in Italy collapsing earlier in the week. But that is not the saddest news that happened this way. I mean, it is for their families, of course. But no, there was sad news in the pop culture world. We all know this one. So let's get right to it. Our last song in our Saturday segue of the day.
The moment I wake up, before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you.
The Queen of Soul there, with a song better known from Dionne Warwick's version, but still the unmistakable sound of Aretha Franklin doing I Say a Little Prayer for You. We are saying a little prayer for Aretha Franklin, who passed away on Thursday, August 16th, at the age of 76, after numerous illnesses. It was pancreatic cancer that eventually got her. She had been spending a few days in hospice care, at which point they were saying, and everybody had warning which is really great. The family had enough time and friends to, while she was still alive and slowly fading over like a 72-hour period, to pay their respects before she died. Born in Detroit in 1942, her mom was a pianist and her dad was a very well-known fire and brimstone kind of preacher, which was incredibly important to what she... Hold on, gotta resume that. Sorry, I just got a warning from Facebook for playing 1 second too much of the Aretha Franklin song, right? Joyce just messaged me to say Aretha's other big song. Well, guess what? There's a surprise for you because it's coming, or at least 28 seconds of it will be coming. But Aretha, she learned to play piano by ear. She wasn't even taught by anybody. But the point was, because her dad was this big preacher, she sang gospel in her local Baptist church, and family friends included people like Mahalia Jackson and the Reverend James Cleveland and Sam Cooke, and she even knew Martin Luther King. She later sang at his funeral. So that, pushing her into gospel music, let her get into music. She tried high school. She dropped out to tour with her dad's gospel caravan. She was on tour with Martin Luther King for a while as well. And then she got signed to Columbia Records. And this is, if you get a chance and you want to listen to some more radio this weekend, go listen to the show Sound Opinions. It's one of the public radio shows that's syndicated out of Chicago. But Sound Opinions did almost an hour on Aretha Franklin. And they make a very good case because the handed-down legend, or the scuttlebutt about Aretha Franklin, was that she was signed by Columbia Records and they didn't know what to do with her. They didn't get her sound. They tried to mold her into more of a Dinah Washington type. She didn't have any hits. She was languishing there up until she went to Atlantic Records and Jerry Wexler. And they make the very good point that she had a lot of hits on Columbia Records. She got on the R&B charts. She got on the regular charts. If you listen to the recordings that she did with Columbia, they weren't stodgy at all. She was finding her sound, a sound already very similar to what she would do with Atlantic. It's just that, she was very good on Columbia, but when she made the label jump and found producer Jerry Wexler, it was just another level. Fire struck, and that first album, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Loved You, which is really, for me, the best thing she's ever done, and for me, really the only Aretha album that you need, unless it's the Greatest Hits collection. That's the one where she had Do Right Woman, and of course, Respect, the Otis Redding song that she covered like no other cover version ever. And quite, I've got to say, even after listening to the Sound Opinions and story on Aretha Franklin and all the encomia that have come out about her and the news stories, it's still, be honest, when was the last time you listened to Aretha Franklin, popped out an album, even from the 60s? Well, I have to, she's so important, and yet she was never really on my musical radar, except for 1 or 2 songs. I respect her and her voice, and of course what she brought to American music, because before her, there really wasn't a black female singing superstar. There were well-known people like Ella Fitzgerald in the jazz era, or Sarah Vaughan, or Billie Holiday, or Bessie Smith to an extent. But in terms of the pop music era and melding gospel and popular music, Aretha set the stage. And even then, there are things I hold against her, because I blame Aretha Franklin on some level for a lot of these urban contemporary female singers who all they care about is melisma, all they care about is reaching this high note and shrieking and yelling. I was just in the supermarket a day or two ago, and they were playing one of these songs by one of these contemporary pop songstresses, these diva types, and it was just kvetching, to take a word from Rabbi Saul Solomon. It was hardly even singing. It was just blaring loud, and I just wanted them to shut up, right? And Aretha had much more style and much more class and much more taste than to do that, even though she was a kvetcher and a shrieker at times, coming out of the gospel tradition. So while she did it better than anybody else, she unfortunately opened the door. She was the gateway drug, much the way Nirvana and Pearl Jam were gateway drugs for 100 other grunge bands you've never heard of and never wanted to hear again. But even so, the success that she attained, and I didn't realize, because I didn't really listen to much of her music, how much success she had even beyond the 60s. I thought, okay, she had those great records with Atlantic, and then by the 80s and the 90s, she was already, not forgotten, certainly. She was a queen of the music scene, but I didn't realize that she was having chart pop success. So, for example, she did well on the R&B charts in the 1970s, lost her footing in the pop world, but then in the 1980s she did the Blues Brothers movie that put her back in the limelight. She had a top 40 song called Jump to It. She won a Grammy covering Hold On, I'm Coming, the Sam and Dave song, and then she had the platinum-selling album called Who's Zoomin' Who with the song Freeway of Love. Again, a big hit, not something I'll ever put on my iTunes really willingly. And even in the 1990s, she had crossover success. She had a song produced by Lauryn Hill called A Rose is Still a Rose. And then, this is quite amazing, they were going to have Luciano Pavarotti on the Grammys. And because him being Luciano Pavarotti, he had the sniffles, he had a little head cold affecting his throat, he couldn't sing, he didn't want to sing, last minute he canceled. So they get Aretha Franklin to take his place. But does she do a bluesy number? Does she do an R&B gospel-y number? No. She does Nessun Dorma, the operatic aria, a song covered by Pavarotti, and the song Pavarotti was going to do. And you see, Björling does, for me, the greatest version ever. So she went on there and in a soulful, bluesy way, knocked everybody's socks off. And even hearing it, I was like, oh, whoa. She is the queen of soul. If you can find that on YouTube, it's pretty staggering. Really, and this was already, I guess this was the 1990s when that happened. And I forgot to mention her best-selling album, which was a double album called Amazing Grace, which was mostly gospel, not all. I don't like gospel music, I'll say that up front, so it's not an album that's ever going to be really on my radar. But in terms of pop gospel, it's supposedly the best ever, and one of the places to start if you're new to Aretha Franklin. Anyway, and then a little bit more about her. In the aughts, she started making the special appearances, winning a bunch of awards, but never stopped still recording, still finding music to sing. In 2014, she covered the Adele song, Rolling in the Deep. She was married and twice divorced. She got honorary degrees from Harvard and Yale, honorary doctorates from those institutions, as well as from a bunch of other colleges. In 2005, she won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And this is what some of the people are saying about the loss of Aretha. NASA tweeted, "We're saddened by the loss of Aretha Franklin. Asteroid 249516 Aretha will keep orbiting beyond Mars to commemorate the Queen of Soul." So, a major artist. Makes me kind of want to go back and selectively listen to some of her stuff, although again, me being me and my feelings about gospel music, I'll probably listen for a day or two, and then it'll slide into the lower rungs of my iTunes. But gotta pay respect. That's the word. And that's the song. If she had only done that, she had only covered Otis Redding's Respect, she would still be a staggering legend of the American music scene. So that's what you have to look forward to in these last minutes of Dave's Gone By. 29 seconds of one of the greatest cover versions ever made, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. But before we get to that, it just remains for me to thank some people. Again, gotta give a big thank you to Sandy Helberg for joining us in the Daverhood. Go check out his Facebook page, go check out his other work, and go see him in those old Mel Brooks movies that you probably haven't seen in several years. And of course, in Spinal Tap. Thanks, Sandy. It was just hilarious hearing you and Rabbi Saul go at it. Thank you to Steve Joyner for setting up the Steve Helberg interview. Steve is this really cool guy, and he tunes in every week, and he's giving me lots of thumbs up during the earlier part of the show. So thanks so much to you for helping us out. Thank you to Rabbi Sal Solomon. You can find out more about him at shalomdammit.com. Shalom, D-A-M-M-I-T, shalomdammit.com. That is the place to read and hear his rabbinical reflections. Those are like mini sermons, and they're real fun. His hilarious TV show that he did a few years ago for Long Island Cable TV, and even his stage show, an early uncut version of Shalom Dammit, An Evening with Rabbi Sal Solomon. All of that is at his website, shalomdammit.com. Do check that out. And he also has a Twitter feed at Rabbi Sal Solomon. At Rabbi Sal Solomon. Thank you also to my beloved, adorable, and wonderful, and darling wife. I can't think of any more. Let me see if I can come up with another adjective for her. My reefy wife, Joyce. My, let's see, subatomic. No, I don't think that word works. My vintage. Well, vintage has vivacious. There's a good one. My vivacious and amazing wife, Joyce. Who, I just came across the word feces. No, let's not go there. Anyway, thank you to her as well. Want to remind you that we should be here, God willing, next Saturday. It will be, I think, the last Saturday in August or close to it. What are we going to have in upcoming episodes of the show? Well, we do have some cool people who are scheduled to be here. We mentioned earlier that comedian Stevie GB will be with us. I think he will be with us next week. He's a 25-year veteran of the comedy scene on and around Long Island. He's appearing in a lot of places now. He's almost retired from his day job as being the world's funniest accountant. Well, Stevie GB, he will be with us talking to Rabbi Sal Solomon next week. I'm pretty sure is when he'll come join us. So you definitely want to check that out. That will be a lot of fun. And then it's funny, we were talking, or Rabbi Sal was talking earlier with Sandy Helberg about Steven Spielberg, because Sandy looks a lot like him, is mistaken for him, has met Steven Spielberg on occasion. Well, someone who knew Steven Spielberg better than that is someone who worked on a little movie that Steven Spielberg directed. The guy's name is Carl Gottlieb. Carl Gottlieb helped adapt and write a book by Peter Benchley called Jaws into a movie that you've probably seen at least once called Jaws. And also, Carl Gottlieb co-wrote The Jerk, the Steve Martin vehicle, with Carl Reiner. He worked on a bunch of other screenplays. He worked with Richard Pryor. He has stories about working with the Smothers Brothers. Can't wait to be talking to Carl Gottlieb. That will be in 2 or 3 weeks. We'll have him here in the Daverhood as well. I want to thank all my hoodies and all my crop. I'm still working on the right thing to call all the folks who tune in. But it's been so great to get all your messages. Let's read some names again here, if I can go backwards towards the beginning, not even close to it. But Stan and Steve and Reggie and Terry and Bert and Bruce and Tammy Faye and Lorraine and, oh my goodness, who else? Gregory and Joseph and Carol and Gilles and Nate and Paul and David and Heidi and Cindy and Melba and Phyllis and Sandy. Well, Sandy tuned in for a bit. That's great. Kelly and Jay and Karen and Wayne and Jolinda and Frank and Michael and Carlo and Robert and Marnie. Oh my God, my cousin Marnie. Give my love to Adam and yourself and the kids. And who else? And Erwin and John, who both tuned in just a couple of minutes ago. So you've missed most of the program. That's okay. Remember that we archive the episodes of Dave's Gone By. We try and keep the videos on here if Facebook will let us. So within a few hours, you should be able to watch the show over again or skim through it to the parts that you missed or that you liked and want to hear again. And of course, the audio archives, and now the video ones, are at davesgoneby.com. DAVESGONEBY. davesgoneby.com. And remember, we have all our shows going back to the very first one in October of 2002. They're free to listen to. It's a podcast, so you can download it onto your iTunes, your iPod. It's also an MP3, or you can just stream it listen to it right on your computer without downloading it, for those of you who are afraid of viri and stuff like that. But from the very first episode up through this week, I mean, give us a few hours and we'll put this show up there with the video. You can find it at davesgoneby.com. Remember, you can drop me a line at davesgoneby@aol.com. Plus, you can message me here all week long at Radio Dave Lefkowitz on Facebook. And welcome to my Auntie Essie. Notice my aunt tunes in for the last minute of the program. The first 3 hours and 48 minutes, she's got other things to do. But when she knows I'm just about to disappear and she doesn't have to listen to the sound of my voice anymore, suddenly my Auntie Essie tunes in. Well, hello, Auntie Essie, and thanks for spending a moment with us. Maybe she'll watch later. Anyway, have a fine, fine week. This is... 2 more days before classes start here at UNC, the University of No Competence. But, so I'll have stories to tell, I'm sure, about the beginning of the semester, but I certainly wish good luck and good classes and good thinking for the next 16 weeks here at UNC to all the professors, to all the students, to all of you tuning in. Whether, treat every day, treat every week as if you're in school and about to encounter something you didn't know before, about to learn from people who may seem strange and eccentric at first, but then they might have something to tell you, something worthwhile and valuable for you to carry along in life. Well, that was almost profound here on Dave's Gone By. Can't have too much of that. Although, let's hear some profoundly magnificent music, a little bit of it, from the best of Aretha Franklin, a little R-E-S-P-E-C-T and G-O-N-E-B-Y, which spells Gone By.